Elf I am the protagonist template. Invincible Chapter 181 to 200. Chapter 181. The Symbolic Bird. The Moment of Awakening. Tilda, please complete the order. Yuhong City, south of the city, outskirts. Bai Zi looked at the gate of the tall courtyard. In front of the front yard, which was at least 5 or 6,000 square meters in size, the huge old castle towering among the trees was speechless. Dark green vines crawled over the tall gray city walls. There are many thorns and roses around. The rose flower in the wind also has a clear smile, which is so simple and fascinating, as delicate as silk white, and the morning dew on the petals is like crystal, reflecting the colorful rays of light in the bright morning sun. Like a dream, like a fantasy. Regardless of the structure, only the area. This castle manor is also very valuable. Not to mention. Bai Zi turned his gaze to the pillars on both sides of the gate of the manor. Those are two unique totem-like decorations. The main body is round, with a black attachment similar to a head on the top, on both sides and below, mainly yellow, with red and blue wings, and tails. On both sides of the body, there are black, double claws, like a fork. Overall, it is like a sculptural pottery that symbolizes the shape of a bird. But Bai Zi is very clear. These two hang on the pillars on both sides of the gate, like things with no signs of life, not sculpture pots at all. It is a rather rare bird like Pokémon that is mostly stationed in ancient ruins or cities, and is almost difficult to find in today's human society, a symbolic bird. Open black lens bracket race. Symbolic bird close black lens bracket. Attribute: super energy, flying. Feature: miracle skin. Level: Quasi Tianwang Elementary, level 50, 5100ths. Potential: Quasi King. HP: 72, Attack: 58, Defense: 80, Special Attack: 103, Special Defense: 80, Speed: 97. Skills: Psychic, Wind, Gravity, Hypnosis, Air Blade, Fantasy Light, Blowing, Cosmic Power, Air Slash, Spiritual Power, Light Wall, Reflective Wall. Genetic Skill: Spiritual Transfer. Status: Half Sleep. Introduction: The elves who are in a semi-sleep state and guard the castle, after special cultivation, even a little malice will wake them up. Open black lens bracket slightly. Close black lens bracket. In addition to different characteristics, one is a miracle skin that reduces the hit rate of changing moves, and the other is a magic defense that does not take damage other than attacks. The data panels of the two symbolic birds, both in a semi-dormant state, are almost astonishingly consistent. And take two quasi-king level symbolic birds to visit the home and nursing home. Tisk tisk, this is really extravagant. Bai Zi sighed in his heart. At the same time, he was also curious about Chao Yichun's identity. It is possible to have such a garden castle, and it has also prepared two quasi-celestial king symbolic birds to guard the house. Obviously, Zhou Yichun's identity in the Zhou family is probably not simple. Bai Zi touched his chin, but he didn't think too much about it. He took out the electronic card, took 2 steps forward, and stuck it directly on the scanner on the left column. Beep. Kacha, with a light sound, the iron gate suddenly opened to both sides. And then, ZZ, the transparent display screen on the code scanner suddenly lit up, and then, Chao Yichun's bright face suddenly appeared on the screen. Miss Joy. Looks like you've already arrived. Chao Yichun's pretty face came closer, blinking and said, "How is it, were you startled?" Bai Zi touched the tip of his nose and said nothing. And Chao Yichun didn't care. After laughing for a while, he continued, "This ancient castle is under my private name, and there is a small closed ecological area in the backyard. The main control room is at the door, and you can enter by swiping your card. Okay, I'm busy, I hope you can stay happily, and I'll ask Ilya to bring Fufu to you when I'm free. That's it." Saying that, Joey Chun waved his hand, and immediately, the screen went black. "Let's go, Nazi." Baizi greeted Natsu, who was following indifferently behind him, and then walked towards the manor first. When passing by the pillars on both sides of the gate, the two symbolic birds seemed to have no response at all, but waited until Baizi and Natsu walked away. A layer of blue thought force suddenly appeared and wrapped around the iron gate. Kacha, with a crisp sound, the door closed, the blue light disappeared, and the gate of the manor fell into peace again. Passing through the front yard and entering the castle, 8, 5, 6, 1, 0. 9 inches 7, 8 inches 2 feet, Ling. Long, the interior decoration is full of technology. Baizi didn't look much. It took me 2 steps to find the small, ecological area in the backyard. To be frank. Beaches, lakes, trees, swamps, grasslands. There are all kinds of ecological terrains, and the total area is probably several times larger than the front yard. This is hardly small at all. Tisk tisk tisk, there is no humanity in the trenches, there is no humanity in the trenches. Baizi shook his head and sighed, took out a pocket watch-like instrument from his arms and tapped it lightly. Suddenly, a beep beep sounded. Another moment. With a beep, 2 green dots appeared on the radar interface of the pocket watch. This thing in Baizi's hand was an anti-surveillance radar customized by Dr. Damu at a high cost. No sound is heard, which proves that there are no bugs and monitoring equipment nearby. If it rings, the green dots indicate whether there are monitoring devices turned on nearby, while the red dots indicate that there are monitoring devices turned on nearby. According to the position displayed by the radar, Baizi turned his head and saw 2 cameras installed on the left and right of the gate inside the ecological park. Snapped, snapped. Baizi hooked his hand, and the lines behind the 2 cameras that were not turned on were immediately pulled out of the interface. Subsequently, he released the wind speed dog, ran around the entire ecological area, and temporarily unplugged all the ports of the surveillance cameras. It's not that they don't trust Joey-chan. Good Jows, it's just some secrets, unless there are people around. Baizi doesn't want to reveal some secrets to outsiders. Finish all this dust. One after another, the elf companions were released by him, and various different roars resounded in the ecological garden. Woo tilde. As soon as little Lugia came out, he rubbed Baizi's neck affectionately, and then after discovering the lake water not far away, his eyes suddenly lit up, flapping his wings, and running straight away. Baizi smiled dotingly. Subsequently, he aimed his gaze at the wind speed dog lying beside him. Next, it's time to use the Chief Awakening mark on the wind speed dog. The system. Chapter 182, God's Enemy. Black flash cracking empty seat. Get out. For full order. System, use the Awakening mark for the wind speed dog. Ding, start to awaken the sigil of the servant. Target, wind speed dog. Start to record and record the power of all authority in the elf world. Open black lens bracket record complete close black lens bracket. Select immediately whether to start, yes, no. Yes. With a slightly condensed expression, he took the wind speed dog to a sandy field. With a slight movement in Baizi's mind, a semi-illusory planet phantom suddenly appeared in the void in front of him, spinning slowly. It doesn't take a moment, as the phantom of the planet slowly rotates. Spots of light, big or small, lit up from the surface of the planet, adorning it. Immediately afterwards, the illusory planet scattered with light spots smashed into pieces, turning into light clusters of different shapes, sizes, and colors that danced and spun around him. Baizi grabbed his hands and a crimson light ball like a flame suddenly fell into his palm. The rest of the light clusters also dissipated. Obtaining the awakening mark of the director, burning, exclusive to wind speed dog, this is the awakening mark of the director, burning. It's beautiful. There was a hint of fascination in Baizi's eyes. In this light group floating in the palm of his hand, he seemed to see the beauty of the world. It was the concept of the burning world, the scorching beauty of light and heat intertwined. 370. However, what Baizi didn't know was just when the system recorded all the power of authority in the wizard world. An invisible special fluctuation spread wildly centered on the ecological park behind the castle manor where he was located. With an indescribable rapid expansion, it instantly covered the entire Yuhong city and even the Guandu continent, and spread in a farther direction. Countless mysterious beings are attracted by this inexplicable force. Slender, shiny green shadows in the ozone layer. A behemoth with a tyrannical aura in the ice cave. The titan sitting on the stone chair in the underground pyramid. A beautiful figure swiftly passing over the sea. The swaying bright giant tree. Trembling stone eggs. There is also the mysterious phase space. The gap in time, the gap in space, and the three elves awakened in the reversed world. As well as, at the end of the world, an alpaca-like elf floating in the void, the creator of the world, Arceus, has experienced betrayal and deception thousands of years ago, in order to give mankind a chance, and also give himself a chance. Arceus fell into a long slumber, waiting for the unknown fate to come. And this time, Arceus, who was sleeping, moved his eyelids slightly. ACBH all over the world. Therefore, those who have ascended to the first-level gods, or have the legend of the official position, feel this all-encompassing, wonderful power. They all turn their attention to the direction of Yuhong City, doubting, inquiring, curious. And so on. The rest are low-level legends that do not go deep into the realm of the gods. Except for a moment of dazed panic, he didn't feel anything. There is only one exception. That is, it is located on the altar under the volcanic town stone, out of the volcanic core of the harsh mountain in the Sheno area. A tortoise-like elf with a reddish-brown skin covered with brown and orange mixed spots, and a gray metal-like protective structure on its head, face and forelegs. With heavy and scorching steps, he stepped on the cross marks one by one. Climb out of the crater below the lava-filled altar. The solid stone on the ground seemed to be unable to withstand the high temperature, and was directly stepped on with scorched black concave impressions, just like a soldering iron printed on rubber. It is a lower-ranking legend known as the Fire Steel God, a harsh mountain king who has entered the realm of the gods, Sidoran. Tick-tock, hot lava slid from Sidoran's body, smashing into the ground, igniting sparks. In the air. From time to time, spattering sparks rose and burst from the surface of Sidoran's body, and in the whistle-like sound, white air flowed out from Sidoran's nostrils. Whoosh tilde who is it? For a moment, Sidoran, who could no longer control the anger in his heart, let out a furious roar. The telepathy like a heavy artillery agitated in the mountain. Bang ye, a firestorm mixed with magma surged wildly around it, and harsh mountain suddenly shook. The raging lava flame storm spewed out even more. Push the mountain above your head away. And Sidoran also rushed out of the crater of harsh mountain following the impact of this huge lava fire column. Hundreds of years of effort. Relying on the unique environment of severe mountain and the origin chi of earth fire within it, Sidoran reluctantly comprehends a trace of burning, residual chi from heaven and earth. Gain authority and become a cleric god, so as to break through the barriers of second-level gods. Sidolan was full of energy. Today, the burning authority is even more active, and it seems to be transformed into reality. But that wonderful feeling that seems to be at your fingertips has just arisen. It instantly disappeared like an illusion. Immediately after. Before it could react from its loss, relying on the traces of residual energy in its body, it sensed the change of ownership of the burning authority. Or an ordinary elf who has not even reached the realm of the gods. Afterwards, the powerlessness of being forcibly deprived of the remaining chi in the body made it even more crazy. Hundreds of years of hard work have all been lost, and Sidoran swore that it would never let go of the guy who cut off its path. This hatred will never be shared. Shout tilde. The low roar sounded again, and the giant beast wrapped in lava jumped straight down the cliff, ramming like a tyrannical locomotive, and pulled out a dark ravine in the forest below the mountain. Thick smoke. Immediately roll over. At the same time, the ozone layer, which is located 9 days above the Kanto region, suddenly swept away like a cloud. The dark dragon swam in the clouds. This is. The black flashing cracking seat suddenly widened his pupils, sensed for a moment, and immediately frowned, and his expression sank when he noticed the seemingly invisible eyes in all directions. Suddenly, roared Tilda. It let out a shocking low dragon groan. The sound shook for 9 days. Special telepathy is conducted at a unique frequency. The meaning of it. It made many top legends agitated one by one, go away. Yuhong City, the southern suburbs, in the ancient castle ecological park. When Baizi woke up from the burning beauty of the essence of the world, Baizi merged the light ball in his hand into the body of the wind speed dog. Coaxing one by one, along with the golden orange flames, rose from the surface of the wind speed dog. And when it quickly turned into a huge beam of flame that wrapped the whole body of the wind speed dog. The prompt sound of the system also sounded ding. The wind speed dog is awakening to the commander, burning. It is detected that some of the residual gas of the burning commander has leaked, and it is being recovered. Open black lens bracket successfully recovered close black lens bracket. Hint, cut off the road ahead, the enemy will be born, and you will never die. Close black lens bracket. Ding, whether to give up awakening, yes, no. Looking at the red streamer that flew from the sky and merged into the flaming golden orange flame beam, Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly. Without hesitation, he said, no. Chapter 183, The Seal of Authority. At this moment, Ibrahimovic, who has completed the control of electrical attributes tilde, please complete the order. What about the enemy? To this day, it is no longer the time for him to have concerns before. With his back to the black flash crack and the entire Lugia tribe, as long as it is not the god of creation, no matter which official legend, he has the courage to touch it. What's more, according to the description of the system, this is not a conflict of duties, just a guy who comprehends part of the power of burning power. Therefore, the top legendary elves and eudemons can be excluded first. Because the power of authority at this level is just breath, and for them, it is too cheap. As such, combining it with the authority of burning, it must be the legendary spirits or phantom beasts with fire attributes. Then the range is very small. Firebird, Yandy, Victini, Polkinian, Sidoran. Tilde. To be honest, if it's just these few, even if he doesn't summon the Black Flash Crack and the Lugia clan, and rely on himself, it's completely enough to deal with it. Therefore, the wind speed dogs, burning, authority has been secured, Arceus. Well, change another one, you can't keep it even if you can't fly, I said 1A1. And this moment. In the field. As the word Baizi fell, the flames became more intense. Coaxing a raging fireball rose up, and the fiery red chains rose from the void, spun and circled around the periphery of the beam of light. And at the same time, a quaint pictographic flame pattern imprinted on the beam of light floated up and down, exuding strange fluctuations. A circle of golden red ripples is visible to the naked eye, spreading in all directions, layer by layer. This is. Baizi frowned slightly, and just as he was about to say something, a elf ball on his waist suddenly shook. Pa, boy tilde, underscore. A white light bloomed with a familiar low-pitched murmur of obvious excitement, an overall brown, petite with bunny-like ears, creamy neck down, and a fluffy, heart-shaped tail. Elves appear in deformed white light. It is the sleeping Ibrahimovic. Boy tilde. With a windproof appearance, Ibrahimovic took a breath of fresh air, rubbed Baizi's trouser legs, and expressed his closeness. He began to look left and right looking for something. Buoy. Ibrahimovic, who didn't find the target in the first lap, suddenly raised a row of question marks on his forehead, and then he quickly turned his attention to Zoroark, who was sitting beside his subordinates. So. Next, Baizi saw Ibrahimovic's change of expression, which could be called the face-changing face of Peking opera, like this. Oh. Then this SOVOA. Then this. Closing parenthesis ellipsis. In the end, it was a pair of nostrils gasping for breath, such an expression. A TT nosebleed. This look. Give Baizi a strong sense of sight. It's like a guy who writes as a black child and reads as a pervert, fantasizes that he has successfully used the computer accessories, medicine to knock down Sister Cannon, and he can do whatever he wants. This guy is really. Baizi stroked his forehead helplessly. And Zoroark, who was stared at by Ibrahimovich's seeing eyes as if he was actually looking at him, could not help but twitch at the corners of his mouth. And right now. Tricks, along with the golden color of Ibrahimovich's body, the system's prompt sound also sounded in Baizi's mind. Your Ibrahimovich successfully used the core spar of electric property to charge the electricity in his body. The system factor is fully controlled. The electrical attribute adaptability reaches 100%, there is a little gain, and an exclusive trick is obtained. Multi-attribute evolution, and the acquired skill, 100,000 volts. Currently mastered attribute, electricity. Zila zila, boy tilde 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 noisy tilde. At this time, the electric light on Ibrahimovich's body became more and more bright and lush, and with a gradual hiss, bursts of white light suddenly erupted on Ibrahimovich's body. Evolution. A gleam of brilliance flashed in Baizi's eyes, that determination and perseverance, finally, for the first time today, will it blossom and bear fruit. At this time, the blooming white light completely wrapped Ibrahimovich's body until it covered the whole body. Over time. In white light. Ibrahimovich's figure was gradually stretched and deformed, his body became larger, his limbs were elongated, and his thick side hair and long tail were also gathered and sharpened. Soon, the dazzling white light seemed to have reached a certain critical point, and after it suddenly bloomed, it slowly dissipated and turned into little stars. And in brilliant light. A head is very similar to Ibrahimovich, but it is more stern, the whole body is golden, the neck is white, and the hair like thorns stands upside down, and the lightning flashes like a snake. The Thunder Elf. The corner of Baizi's mouth raised a smile, and in his mouth, he murmured the other party's name at this time. 0. Ask for flowers. At the same time, under the slightly sliding sunglasses, a cloud-like light flashed slowly. Next second. The new data panel of the Thunder Elf appeared in his eyes. Race. Thunder Elf Reeb. Attribute. Electricity. Characteristics. Power storage. Scud. Monty. Level. Elite Advanced. Level 30. 5100ths. Potential. King of Heaven. HP. 65. Attack. 65. Defense. 60. Special Attack. 110. Special Defense. 95. Speed. 130. Exclusive Skill. Multi-Attribute Evolution. Mastered Attribute. Electricity. Skills. Electric Shock. Desire. Cry. Impact. Tail Wagging. Sand Splashing. Lightning Flash. Round Pupil. Electromagnetic Wave. Double Kick. High-Speed Star. Lightning Teeth. 100,000 volts. 0. Genetic Skill. See-through. Status. Perfect. The fire attribute factor is abnormally active. Introduction. Talented, with unique genes that can adapt to various environments, has fully adapted to the electrical attribute energy factor, and can freely switch between the two forms of Ibrahimovich and Thunder Elf. Not bad. After reading the attribute panel of the Thunder Elf, the smile on Baizi's face deepened. The gene has been stabilized, and the exclusive move, multi-attribute evolution, has been obtained, which can be freely converted between the two forms of Ibrahimovich and Thunder Spirit. In terms of strength, he has also entered the elite high-level step by step through accumulation. It can be said, Ibrahimovich, the best, seventh man, in his mind, has taken a solid step. However, the fire attribute factor is abnormally active. Baizi frowned slightly, and looked at the little guy who quickly changed back to Ibrahimovich's form in a burst of white light after getting used to the Thunder Elf form. Crouched down. He held Ibrahimovich, who was about to pounce in Zoroark's direction, and pinched the back of its fate. Lift it up. You bastard, what are you running for? Rolling his eyes, Baizi pointed Ibrahimovic at himself and said, come on, answer me a question first. P.S. Read anthropomorphic tilde a few. Chapter 184. You are the devil, aren't you? Please complete. Ibrahimovic, who was pinched by the back of Destiny's neck by Baizi, fluttered a few times subconsciously. Seeing that he couldn't break free, he turned his eyes on Baizi with a dead expression on his face. What's your expression like? Baizi shook the back of Ibrahimovic's neck and asked, tell me, what's the matter with your current state? The fire element is abnormally active. 5a. LLL tilde. Ibrahimovic looked surprised, looking at Baizi with a face full of how do you know? Seeing this, Baizi's mouth twitched, he couldn't help but stretched out his hand and gave Ibrahimovic a brain break, and said, come on, what's going on? Booyah. Ask me about this. That fire pit has been triggering a high concentration of fire elements, but any fire element will directly benefit, not to mention an elves like me who are particularly sensitive to attribute energy. Closing parenthesis. Quote. Ibrahimovic's shoulders collapsed, and he muttered, 3 7 zeros, twice. Subsequently, glancing at Baizi with a slanted gaze, he whimpered, booyah. Again, I said, can you understand? What do you say? Baizi gave the guy a blank look again, and immediately put his other hand into the backpack to grope. Boy, boo, I said of course. Halfway through the words, Ibrahimovic reacted and said with a shocked expression, booyah booey. Can you understand what I said now? A little skill I learned not long ago. Baizi replied casually, and glanced at the wind speed dog that was still surrounded by visions not far away. Then, a crimson irregular crystal was taken out of the backpack and handed to Ibrahimovic. SOVOA. Looking at the familiar crystal in front of him, except for the different colors, and feeling the more active fire element in his body, Ibrahimovic felt bad. This thing, it's too familiar. This is not. It just digested an electric property a few minutes ago. But now it has only been freed from the hard work of analyzing attribute factors for such a short time, and you have taken out another fire attribute. Good guy, the mud donkey in the production team next door can't do this. Are you the devil? This is what you said. In this case, the elves with fire attributes will directly benefit, especially you. However, I will not force you. Whether you want to seize such an opportunity or not is entirely up to you. I respect all your choices. Saying that, Baizi let go of Ibrahimovic and placed the fire-type core spar beside it. Get up. Coming to Cherulian, who was on the side, the next second, one person and one pet disappeared in place. He needed to determine how big the movement caused by the wind speed dog was. CC Baizi left. Ibrahimovic looked at the fire attribute core spar in front of him and fell into deep thought. And the other side. Above the canopy at the periphery of the eco-park. In the slight waves of air, the figures of Baizi and Cerulean appeared here. Immediately after, one person and one pet flashed again and came to the top of the minaret at the ancient castle. It seems that the affected area is not large. Baizi had a bird's-eye view of the entire ancient castle manor, and after confirming that the vision of the wind speed dog integrating the power of authority did not spread to the ancient castle, he was a little relieved. After all, according to what Ibrahimovic said, if there is too much movement, I am afraid it will attract a lot of fire elves. At that time, there will inevitably be unrest. At this moment, Cherulian's ethereal telepathy suddenly sounded in Baizi's mind. Baizi, is it really okay to treat Ibrahimovic like that? Oh. Baizi was stunned when he heard the words, but he didn't answer immediately, but rubbed Chilean's little head with relief. I didn't expect our cold little Princess Chilean to care about her companions too. I didn't. Cherulian subconsciously wanted to speak like this, because she was just worried that it would make Ibrahimovic resent and hurt Baizi. But when she saw the smile on Baizi's face, she was silent, swallowing the words that she almost blurted out. But Baizi obviously didn't notice this. He rubbed Cherulian's little head, his eyes were a little sluggish, and he said as if he was recalling something. Speaking of which, in my team, there is actually no shortage of hard-working people. The giant stinger that will seize every moment and every second of opportunity to strengthen itself. Laplace, who likes to secretly train alone. Of course. And you little girl, as long as you have free time, you will take me as a training target, and use invisible spiritual power to coat my body with a spiritual shield. Bang tilde. Boom, speaking, Baizi tapped 0 on his left chest with his fingers lightly. Burning white thoughts flashed from his fingers. Next second. Like a stone cast into lake water, a layer of lavender mental ripples immediately made this invisible shield appear. Cherulian's face was slightly red, a little embarrassed. And Baizi retracted his fingers and let the shield disappear into the invisible again. To be frank, Cherulian's movements are indeed very secretive. If it weren't for the prompt of the talent reward system, I'm afraid he wouldn't pay attention, and it would be difficult to find this mental shield. It has to be said that Cherulian's manipulation of mental power is really becoming more and more refined. While sighing in his heart, Baizi quickly turned his thoughts and asked with a chuckle, however, Cherulian, which one do you think is the hardest among these partners? The meaning of Baizi's words self-evidently, Cherulian would not fail to hear it. But it was precisely because she heard this answer that she hesitated deeply. You said, shouldn't it be Ibrahimovic? Baizi chuckled and didn't answer directly. He turned his attention to the direction of the ecological park. The corners of his mouth rose slightly. It seems that he once again recalled the perseverance hidden in those timid pupils when he first met Ibrahimovic. The process of using the energy factor in the attributes bar to master and enhance the adaptability of the attributes in the body is not necessarily an overnight process. Words fall. As if to verify what Baizi said, the system's prompt sound also sounded at this time. Your Ibrahimovic is trying to control the fire energy factor in the body with the power of the fire attribute course bar. Can hold. Ibrahimovic's fire attribute adaptability has been enhanced. Open black lens bracket current. 0.5 close black lens bracket. Ibrahimovic passively accepts the concentration of the fire element to refine, and the fire attribute adaptation speed is enhanced 1%. 1.5%. 2%. P.S. Fire Elf Anthropomorphic Figure tilde. Chapter 185. Burning in Office, Controlling Light and Heat, the training is over. For full order. Wind Speed Dog, use Jet Flame. Out tilde. In a small Gobi Desert area in the ecological park, following Baizi's order, the dog's canine teeth opened slightly at the wind speed, and a crimson flame suddenly spewed out of his mouth. This flowing flame is like a laser, and the speed is astonishingly fast. In the blink of an eye, he rushed to the opposite side as a target and erected a wall of pure ghost-type energy factors in front of him. Sheila, as if fire and water were connected, bursts of white smoke rose up. And at the same time, an astonishing heat suddenly emerged, causing the entire Gobi Wilderness area to be like a scorching sun spreading fire, and the air distorted like an anxious one. Marchado. The heat wave rolled and hit his face, and Baizi immediately waved his hand to force him away, and at the same time reminded him aloud. Mild tilde. When Marchado heard the words, he raised his hand and clenched it, and the energy factor wall composed of ghost attributes suddenly turned into a large net to wrap the flame. The dark orb with a red heart made of it was held in the hands of Masha Duaksu. Immediately afterwards, Marciado raised his left arm, and the petite O2 fist, which was covered in frost, directly hit the palm of the right palm that was holding the ball. Pa! A crisp sound, and a wisp of blue smoke suddenly rose from the closed fists. At the same time, the cold chill spread, directly pressing down the scorching heat wave that rose, turning into a wisp of warm cool wind, blowing past Baizi's ears and blowing around. Your wind speed dog has a deep understanding and training of the jet flame trick under your guidance, and has gained a little, the application proficiency of the power of burning authority +1, the jet flame proficiency +3. Your Machado has undergone auxiliary training under your guidance, and has gained a little, the basic application proficiency of Ghost Factor +1, and the proficiency of Frozen Fist +1. Hearing the system prompt sound in his ear, Bai Zi's mouth twitched. In addition to kicking skills, some daily training, Machado is almost difficult to mobilize. However, this is not difficult for Bai Zi. If the front does not work, then take the side route. With the talent reward system, as long as you put in the effort, you will surely reap the rewards. And with this, using the sparring as an excuse, Machado is also passively accepting his own training. He, let you be stubborn like a ghost, and you don't want to drink my foot wash honestly. After a moment of pride in his heart, Bai Zi turned his attention to the wind speed dog, which had grown in size again, and was already close to 2.2 meters. Race, Wind Speed Dog Basic Form, Solar Mode. Attribute, Fire. Characteristics, Intimidation, Ignition, Unextinguishable Flames Exclusive, not disturbed by the opponent's characteristics, and bring continuous burning damage to the opponent. Level, Champion Intermediate, Level 75, 2100. Potential, Level 2 God. HP, 92-90 Attack, 110, Defense, 81-80 Special Attack, 102, Special Defense, 81-80 Speed, 102-95. Exclusive Skills, Burning Flame Shock. Let the armored flame cover the whole body and slam into the opponent, and generate a violent linear shock wave at the moment of receiving. Junion. Instantly heat the air to a rare high temperature, then shrink and spit out explosive flames. Attack the opponent. Open black lens bracket skill, Slightly. Close black lens bracket. Inherited skills, Morning Light, Dangerous Clash. Open black lens bracket Authority, Burn close black lens bracket. Prop, Claw of Preemption. Open black lens bracket Status, Perfect close black lens bracket. Introduction. The director burns, controls the light and heat, and awakens the pure flame that belongs to him. It is an inextinguishable flame that burns everything out. In the hot sun mode, the power of fire attribute moves will be increased by 20%. The wind speed dog, who has awakened the power of authority, burning, has not changed much on the attribute panel. Exclude the 2 points of special attack racial value and 1 point of speed racial value added by the training camp. In terms of level, it has only increased the experience value of less than 1 level, and is still in the middle of the championship. But the awakening of the authority has made the wind speed dog have an extraordinary qualitative change in some characteristics. Combustion is a reaction that produces light and heat. And that's why the fire attribute skills used by the wind speed dog take into account the speed of light and the extraordinary terrifying high temperature. At this point, the bonus to the wind speed dog is quite amazing. And this is an instinct-like talent. Therefore, in the process of using it, not only does it consume almost nothing, but also like an arm command, it can easily be used by the wind speed dog on fire attribute moves. And this kind of improvement is only in strength, not including some invisible improvement discovered by Bai Zi, such as the comprehension of fire skills, and the increase in the absorption speed of the fire attribute factor, etc. Is it already this time? Bai Zi raised his head and glanced at the single-sided ceiling that could only be seen from the inside to the outside. The gap was gradually falling behind, and he confirmed the time one by one, 18 hours 12 minutes and 56 seconds. Only then did the spiritual power spread out. The grassland area, sitting cross-legged in the void, in a state of meditation, Cerulean had 3 uses. The iron dumbbells that staggered in midair and flew back and forth while exerting gravity pressure with the psychic skill. The other side. It is the use of tyrannical mental power to gather super energy system factors, gather erosion and stand on the ground, and use the feather habitat that I learned not long ago to continuously restore physical strength. In the lake area, Laplace, who used his excellent ice attribute manipulation ability, was concentrating on carving a family portrait. Bai Zi sat in front, hugging Laplace's neck and leaning on it. And the large needle bee, Cerulean, Zoroark, Iron Dumbbell, Machado, Wind Speed Dog, Auspicious Egg, Ibrahimovic, and a petite Lugia, like a guard, surrounded by one person and one pet around. Seeing this, little Lugia next to him swam around the ice sculpture with a look of excitement. Subsequently, lying beside the ice sculpture with a silly face, he applauded with his white 370 wings. In the forest area, Youngjira, who was brought in for training, and who had successfully evolved into Hooty, was alert to the looming figure in the dim forest. The majestic elf power spreads everywhere, and the eyes of miracles like magic lenses are framed in front of them. From time to time, there will be one or two mental shocks, fantasy rays of light, piercing through the phantoms that appear in front of it one after another. But unfortunately, these are all illusions. I suddenly felt the touch of a sharp object on my forehead. Immediately afterwards, a human-shaped fox with a whole gray body and red temples appeared on its left side, and its scarlet claws were quietly placed on its forehead. And at this time, Baizi's gentle voice suddenly sounded in the hearts of the elves who were still in the training camp. Okay, that's the end of today's training. Let's take a rest and have dinner right away. P.S. Recently a book friend said that I am water. I reflected on it. I made the old problem of burying the thread, so I decided to speed up the progress. After the Zeraora theatrical version is finished, I will start the Strongest Quartz conference in history as soon as possible. And finally, present the beautiful picture of the water elf girl. Thank you, Tilda. Chapter 186. Micro-manipulation, Jinghuashuiyu. For full order. It has been more than half a month since Baizi came to this ancient castle for retreat training in Yuhong City. Specifically, today is the 16th day. This time, Baizi almost revolves around a group of elves to carry out 3-point and 1-line layout plan, observation and correction, and after training recuperation. And other than that, at night when everyone slept peacefully, Baizi also needs to coordinate and observe the progress and status of the elves. It can be said that the whole person is completely rotating, busy like a top with a foot hitting the back of the head, and there is no time to rest at all. It's really overworked. If it is not far superior to the physique of ordinary people, I am afraid that Baizi will not be able to persevere. And in the past few days, apart from some simple stretching and relaxation, he has hardly done any exercise. The physical fitness has also increased by 6 points unconsciously during this period. This is enough to see Baizi's hard work. Still, it's all worth it. 16 days of intense training. The results of the harvest are also quite gratifying. Needless to say, the Wind Speed Dog has successfully mastered the power of authority, and the level has been increased slightly. At level 75, the racial value, special attack +2, speed +1. In a main battle among the elf handhelds, its data is the least improved. But the Wind Speed Dog, who awakened to his duty and controlled the power of light and heat, was said to be reborn, but it was not an exaggeration at all. And then there was Cerulean. Seriously, Cerulean is the least weak among Baizi's hands. None of the 6-dimensional attributes of race value is lower than 100. And it's different from the weaker siblings. Cerulean inherited the strong melee ability of Cheomung, and the thought wave gun composed of the exclusive skill Spirit Breaking is simply a proper battlefield Valkyrie. Coupled with the already strong special attack, it can be said, almost no weaknesses. Therefore, her training is also the most worry-free for Baizi. Meditate, enhance special attack, and by the way, while helping the training of Big Needle Bee and Iron Dumbbell, exercise the control of super power factor. And with this, in these few days of training, her special attack increased by a full 5 points. The manipulation of mental power has reached the level of subtlety. Put it this way. Most of today's superpower-based direct attack skills can be turned into free cruise cannonballs by Cerulean. Even, only the rank of the two sides is not much different, and the opponent's super-type moves, she can even disintegrate remotely. Is it scary? As for the level, it was also slightly increased by 1 level. Right. It's first order, not first class. Now, Cerulean has officially entered the high-level Quasi-King, and is only one step away from the peak of the Quasi-King. There's no way, who's called Cerulean's background is too strong. The genes of the two top legends, the superpower orb bracelet of the heaven and earth treasures, and the mental power that jumps like a triple jump at every turn. Seriously. Although the current level of the giant Needlebee is stable, it is difficult for Baizi to say which of them will be the first elf in his hands to break into the Heavenly King level. Who knows if Cerulean will leapfrog the breakthrough with the sudden increase of spiritual power. What's more, with the current level of Cerulean, it has fully met the requirements of evolution. And once it evolves into Shinado, it goes without saying that it must be a steady promotion to the Heavenly King level. Next up is the Giant Bee. As I said before, Baizi is more inclined to the enhancement mode with extreme points than the comprehensive hexagonal warrior. Because, in this way, it can expand infinitely on the advantageous side, directly opening the gap with other elves, and quantitative changes cause qualitative changes. Of course. This is also one of the reasons why it can quickly become stronger in the early stage and form combat effectiveness. Now, the level of the giant stinger is close to the king level, and the two racial values of the specialization attack and speed have been raised to an astonishing level of 166 and 172, respectively. If you want to improve again, it is no longer possible to do a short training camp. Therefore, after some deliberation, Baizi decided to take this opportunity to strengthen the giant hornbee to a certain extent. The focus of reinforcement is on special defense. As a crispy insect-type assassin elf, the giant stinger can resist contact and direct attack skills with the help of exclusive skill gauntlets. However, the sonic skills are just the shortcoming of the hornet's defense, so Baizi used the super power system to restrain the hornbill to carry out the training of attribute adaptation, so as to enhance the special defense. And the big stinger bee is also not to be trusted. 16 days of training, enduring the erosion of the super energy system energy factor, the special defense abruptly increased by 12 points, reaching a level of 92. Then there are the iron dumbbells. The elves who have passed their infancy will have a rapid growth stage. In the past few days, although there is no special training in combat skills, the iron dumbbells have also stepped into the middle novice level step by step. At the same time, this little guy is really ruthless. When under the pressure of Cerulean's psychic power, the iron dumbbell completely ignored the difference in strength, and used magnetic force to fight against Cerulean's own psychic power. And the more oppressed it is, the more tenacious it is. It is completely a steel and iron bone that can't be beaten, and can't be crushed. Here, it refers to the mind. Under the blessing of the talent reward system, such perseverance is naturally impossible for nothing. In the training against oppression, the iron dumbbell not only increased the original defense racial value by 20 points, reaching the level of 100, but also increased the attack by a full 30 points, reaching 100 points. 85. The improvement is not too big, but this is also because of the low racial value. Not to mention, Baizi is also quite willing to spend money on logistical supplies, just the little guy with iron dumbbells, all kinds of nutritional products, herbs and special ingredients. At the end of the day, at least, it is a few thousand large and a small 10,000. Although the detailed account Baizi did not specifically calculate. However, in the 16 days, he spent almost 1.2 million for the express delivery of various materials and herbs. It can be said that the money is like flowing water. Finally, there are the two elves Laplace and Zoroark. Laplace usually focuses on his comprehension of ice laws and his excellent ice attribute manipulation ability. After Baizi's guidance, combining training and interest, using the method of carving ice sculptures to increase concentration, thereby training the ability to manipulate ice attributes, but also subtly deepening the understanding of the laws of ice. Under the accumulation of thin hair, the effect is also very gratifying. The special attack racial value has increased by 12 points, reaching 100, and the understanding of the law of the ice type, Good Jiao's, has also advanced to the level of 0.1% dust. Although it doesn't look like much, it's a solid step. The improvement of Zoroark is similar to that of Laplace. However, it has reached 125 in special attack, and it is more focused on the choice of training. Only one. That is to be proficient in the actual use and mastery of illusion. With enough focus, Zoroark has also harvested enough results. On the basis of the 2 senses of shape and sound at the beginning, the remaining 3 senses of smell, taste and touch have gradually become fruitful. Believe that one day. Zoroark's hallucination ability can be compared to Aizen's Zanpakuto, manipulating the 5 senses to completely immerse the opponent in the mirror. P.S. Ice Elf Anthropomorphic Figure tilde. Chapter 187. Psychic Plastic Operation, The Eve of Departure Please Order. After Baizi greeted the elves, he directly stepped on the back of the wind speed dog and came to the special place for daily meals, on a grass that was cleared out near the lake. Tables, chairs, tablecloths, etc. are already well placed. Natsi, on the other hand, stared attentively at the kitchen utensils that were flying up and down not far away. The monini held in her arms had a cute expression on her face. She opened her mouth slightly, and you could vaguely see a glittering color oozing out. Not far away. Medicated meals, bone broth, charcoal grilled steaks, fruit plates, nutritional juices. Each dish seems to be manipulated by invisible hands, and is brought to the dining table one by one under the burning white light curtain. And all of this is actually achieved by Baizi through remote control of mind power. At the beginning. Because he is not yet proficient, although the strong mental power will not make him fail. But the cooked things are indeed somewhat unsatisfactory in terms of taste. However, after these days of practice, Baizi has almost been able to fully demonstrate his advanced cooking skills under the condition of dual purposes. As for Naz, well, she did show a strong interest in cooking, and her strong mental power can completely make her grasp the time limit. But, what she did was weird. Obviously the dishes, styles, and processes are exactly the same, but the taste. How to say? You can't say it's unpalatable. But it has a strange, completely indescribable 370 strange taste. It's hard to describe. Baizi shook his head with lingering fears. After serving the last big bone broth in the very center of the table. You have made a total of 12 delicacies, and you have gained a little, cooking experience plus 4-5, psychoplastic operation proficiency plus 1, the system prompt sounded in my ear. Soon. Yi Laola, accompanied by a rush of water, Laplace, who was holding little Lugia, took the lead to swim from the lake. Tilde. When little Lugia saw Baizi, she immediately flew up from Laplace's back with a light moan, flew over the shore staggeringly, and plunged into Baizi's arms. Immediately afterwards, the 3 elves, Big Needle Bee, Cerulean, and Iron Dumbbell, came together. And Zoroark appeared silently and slowly behind Hudi, who appeared in a flash of light. Okay, let's take your seats first. Baizi clapped his hands and waited for his friends to surround the dining table, then he beckoned to Big Needlebee alone and said, "Come on, Big Needlebee." Big Needlebee approached with flapping wings. Soon, there was a small round glasses on the bridge of the nose, and Gili Egg, holding a medical book in his arms, ran over with small steps. As early as 10 days ago, after saying goodbye to Ilya who returned to the Joey family, Gili Egg also moved here. But it usually stays in the main control room. Use the special machine inside and the authority under Joey Pure Special to enter the internal medical network of the Joey family for further study and study. Lucky tilde. Panting in small mouths, after waving naively at Baizi, Gili Egg swayed her lovely round body and approached the giant Needlebee whose body was covered with slight erosion marks. The 2 small short hands opened, and the pink halo wrapped the palms. Gili Egg's face became serious, his arms moved forward, and he pressed the sky above the head of the big Needlebee. The pink halo is even more dazzling, and the halo continues to spread, completely wrapping the entire body of the large needlebee. Visible to the naked eye, those eroded traces were quickly removed and dissipated like handwriting erased by an eraser. The big needlebee closed his eyes slightly, only feeling that his whole body was wrapped in a warm breath, and the lost physical strength also recovered most of it. Immediately after, Lucky Tilda. With another soft moan, Gilly Egg folded his hands together, and a drop of sparkling water condensed in the void above the head of the big needlebee, and slowly dripped down. Beer Tilda. Immediately, a cool and comfortable feeling spread from the top of the head to the whole body, and the big needlebee couldn't help trembling all over, and let out a sound of insects. And then one by one, your auspicious egg healed the hornet, a little gain, healing wave proficiency +1, life water drop proficiency +1. Sitting down again, he picked up the little Lugia who was drilling into his arms. Baizi looked around and chuckled lightly, then, let's start. Ooh Tilda. Ow Tilda. Terry Tilda. As soon as the voice fell, a group of elves suddenly began to wind and swirl the clouds. After all, the consumption of training is indeed not small. Even the giant hornbee, who always pays attention to its posture ACBH, did not devour it, but the speed at which the double needles cut the beef into the mouth created an afterimage. Not to mention things like iron dumbbells, the whole body is sunk in Baizi's special rations mixed with high-quality minerals, tree fruits and homemade energy cubes. Twisted and twisted, showing the true nature of foodies. If I hadn't seen it many times, I would have thought it was a drowning meal. Baizi couldn't help shaking his head. Head down. Meat pieces cut to the same size have been placed in front of their own table. This beautiful knife skill is obviously the masterpiece of Big Needlebee. Soon, a glass of rainbow-colored juice that was still spinning floated over. Baizi smiled lightly at Chilean and took it. And then, a single serving of soup, which is separated from flesh and bones, is like magic, and slowly emerges beside his left hand. Baizi suddenly laughed. He forked a piece of beef, took a sip of the thick soup, and picked up some fruit pieces and put them in his mouth. Looking at the companions around him, Baizi felt inexplicably relaxed, as if all his troubles had gone away from him. Ooh Tilda. At this moment, the soft voice of little Lugia in his arms sounded. Baizi suddenly woke up. He picked up a bowl of milk soup that had been made a long time ago from the table, scooped up a spoonful, tested the temperature, and then carefully fed it to the mouth of the little guy in his arms. Come on, open your mouth Tilda. Ah Tilda. Little Lugia wrapped the spoon in one bite, her cheeks bulging, and her eyes narrowed immediately. Cerulean and Zoroark saw this scene, and couldn't help but flash of memory in their eyes, and after subconsciously looking at each other, they suddenly deviated from it calmly. After a sumptuous dinner. The sun is fading. Soon, the moonlight slowly climbed from the side, and the first ray of stars also dotted the night. On the grass, all the elves and Byzinazi lay down together, including Ibrahimovic, who absorbed the element of the fire attribute, was also released, and he was cradled beside Zoroark's temples, with a smile on the corner of his mouth. In Byzi's arms, he was holding the little Lugia, who was apparently sound asleep. In the middle, along with Nazi and Cerulean, who were hugging Monini, they were leaning on the fluffy fur of the wind-speed dog. Zoroark was half reliant on Byzi's lap, and Laplace lying beside him and in it. Iron dumbbells sleeping on the back. The auspicious egg also leaned on Laplace's neck, and the giant stinger was on the other side of the wind-speed dog. In the shadows, Marshadow floated half of his body as if lying flat on the water, drifting with the current. Byzi looked around, and refocused his eyes on the bright moon and star screen that was reflected by the translucent ceiling. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but slowly rise. If this rebirth is really controlled by some gods, then, thank you for letting me have so much. P.S. Anthropomorphic drawing of grass elves tilde. Chapter 188. The Sealed Orb, the Blood of Creation. For full order. Early the next morning, Byzi packed up and went to the elf center and asked Chao Yichun to leave. So, are we going to leave officially? Joey Chunmei blinked lightly. Bai Zi nodded and said solemnly, "Thank you Miss Joy for your care and help these days. This is my personal communication number. If you need anything in the future, please feel free to contact me." Saying that, Bai Zi pushed a note in front of Chao Yichun. Bai Zi did not lie. The borrowing of the venue is easy to say, but it is not a small favor to delegate the authority of the Joey family's medical database to Gili Egg. To know. In any world, knowledge is priceless. Take an example. Gili Egg obtained a medicinal formula from this database that can slowly heal and clear the body's dark wounds. And this medicated diet is exactly where Bai Zi dared to use ultra-high-intensity training in this training camp. Say nothing else. The value of this medicated formula alone is completely immeasurable. To be clear, on the market, the efficacy of compound decoction, which is not very similar to this medicated diet, costs 50,000 to 80,000 for a dose the size of a thumb. If you want to clear the dark wound, at the very least, you need to use a full course of treatment during the recuperation period. Twice a day, one dose at a time, and a course of treatment is 15 days. In other words, to use it once, it will cost at least 1.5 million. And the effect is far worse than the medicated diet. The medicated diet only needs to be taken once a night, and the next day will be full of vitality. It will not affect the high-intensity training at all, and even the residual medicinal properties can also play a role in promoting. Where, Chao Yichun covered his mouth and smiled, "After all, I also borrowed your blessings for a lot of days, so it's a matter of balance." Bai Zi smiled slightly and didn't speak. Others regarded him as a friend, so naturally he wouldn't reject his friend's wishes without emotional intelligence. However, he will keep it in his heart. By the way, Chao Yichun suddenly raised her slender fingers as if she had remembered something, and then took out a tightly wrapped small box from the counter and said, "You have a video from Dr. Damu here. Please sign for the message and the courier sent by him." Oh. Bai Zi took it casually, and without any shyness, in front of Chao Yichun. While dismantling it, he clicked on the video message. Sheila, the flat screen on the counter suddenly lit up. Then, Dr. Ogi's big face that almost filled the screen appeared. His flow. While chatting about the instant noodles, he said vaguely, "Xiao Bai Zi, I have a person here who has signed, Lily's grandfather, to send you something, saying that it is as a thank you, let me forward it to you. Zi Lu. It's probably not a simple thing to be so careful. If there is no problem, you can keep it. If there is any problem, you can call me back. Zilu, Gululu. Well, I'm still busy. That's it." After speaking, he drank the instant noodle soup in a suffocating mouthful, and wiped it with his cuff at will. Fingers stretched out. Next second. The screen went black immediately. Ah. Chao Yichun blinked her big eyes twice. Her charming face was puzzled, and her eyes were full of disillusionment. "Dr. Damu, is this usually the case?" "It's good to get used to it." Bai Zi lightly smiled and shrugged, making Chao Yichun unable to help muttering, "Why are you used to this?" And at this time, Bai Zi finally did not open the mysterious courier. Inside is a wooden box. After opening the box, a crystal clear, translucent jade bead with a blushing color inside appeared in front of Bai Zi's eyes. Sealing orb, blood of creation, an orb that can permanently seal anything, including living creatures, and keep it in the state before it was sealed. It contains parallel world, single attribute, and the blood of dragon attribute Arceus. Supplement, break the orb to take out the contents sealed inside. Note 1. After being broken, the sealed orb will lose its effectiveness. Note 2. There is no dragon law or special power in the blood of creation, but it can be used to comprehend part of the realm of the creation field. Seeing the virtual panel that appeared in front of him, only he could see, Bai Zi's pupils shrank suddenly. Lily's grandfather. This title, Bai Zi thought about it, and guessed that it should be Hassan, the current chairman of the Moore Group. Moore's pseudonym. Through this, he also understood that his apparent identity should have been known to the other party. And this behavior of the other party also made him very fond of. After seeing that he didn't want to reveal his identity, firstly, he didn't bother himself, and secondly, when he sent something to himself, he not only spared a circle, but followed the path of Dr. Damu. And from the signature, it can be seen that the other party should also hide his identity when he sent it. It can be said that in practice, it is quite sincere. However, Baizi took the sealing orb containing the blood of creation in his hand, and felt the warm touch from the jade-like material, without pondering in his heart, does the other party know the value of this thing? If you know, to be able to send such a treasure, that's a lot of courage. However, presumably I don't know. With this thing, it is almost equivalent to holding a top legendary favorability amplifier. It may be a bit difficult to find a top-level legend of the dragon family and offer this item to make the other party follow, but in exchange for shelter, it shouldn't be difficult to think about. Also, this so-called parallel world and Arceus with a single dragon attribute. Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly. He is not too surprised that there is a parallel time and space in the elf world. After all, in the original TV animation, Xiaoji and the others had only experienced a peculiar landform on their way to the Carlos area, Mirror Cave. 0. Ask for flowers. The mirror hole is filled with large and small crystals of various shapes, which are like mirrors. Each piece of these crystals actually represents a mirror world, like the parallel time and space of the elf world. And Xiaoji. It is in this mirror hole. Traversed one side of it, entering the land of mirrors, whose back is similar to the original world but completely different. Then, does this sealed orb containing the blood of creation come from one of the mirror worlds, in the mirror cave? Also, even if it is a single attribute of Arceus, its blood, and how is it stored in the sealed orb? Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly, and he unconsciously fell into the sinking. At this time. What? Do you recognize something? With a fragrant wind blowing across his face, Chao Yichun did not shy away from bringing his pretty face close to Baizi. His sandalwood mouth opened slightly, and he exhaled. Oh, it's nothing. I just thought about it for a long time because I don't know each other. Baizi shrugged, dismissed the matter lightly, put the beads back in the wooden box, and stuffed them into the backpack at will. Chao Yichun just asked casually. Naturally he didn't care too much. After noticing his posture, his pretty face flushed, and he hurriedly probed Junsho back. Although they have been together for a short time, the young man in front of him seems to have an amazing sense of intimacy, and he can pull him unconsciously. The relationship between neighbors. So much so that she inadvertently made a move to break the safe distance between her and the opposite sex. Baizi's eyes flickered. However, he didn't say much, just took out a long-prepared gift box and pushed it in front of Chao Yichun. Thank you for your care these days, a small gift, I hope you don't shirk. After speaking, Baizi waved his hand. Without waiting for Chao Yichun to react, he strode out of the center of the elf, pulled up Natsi who was waiting at the door, and turned over to ride the wind speed dog. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared at the gate of the elf center. Huh. Chao Yichun raised his hand subconsciously and looked up to see where Baizi was still there. I couldn't help but puffed my cheeks. Really? With some thoughts in his mouth, he looked curiously at the simple gift box on the counter. Pull off the ribbon and turn it slightly. Immediately. A crystal clear pink rhombus diamond the size of a pigeon egg, under the illumination of the light, flashes a mesmerizing dazzling brilliance. So beautiful. P.S. A collection of Arceus a few. Chapter 189. The Four Seasons circulate, arrive at Fenglai City. For full order. From Yuhong City to Fenglai City, it spans 2 districts and passes through mountains and oceans. The journey is naturally not short. Therefore, when going to and from the 2 places, you will basically choose a plane or a ship. However, in the past 2 years, the Alliance has also opened a train that shuttles between the Guandu area and the Chengdu area, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to and from the maglev train station between Manjin City and Jinwang City. In terms of pure speed, this maglev train is much faster than the Shuixihao that sails between Q City and Onion City, and it is not far from the average civil airliner. But, because there are too many platforms in between, unless you stop by the way, generally speaking, it is more convenient and faster to take a plane. As one of the largest cities in the Kanto region, Yuhong City naturally has no shortage of airports. After Baizi and Natsi left the Elf Center, they went to a nearby mainframe, 370 inches field in the west of the city. However, after the security check, after purchasing the two-seat first-class cabin for the inter-regional long-distance airliner to Fenglai City. In the lounge, Baizi and Nazi just sat down on the front feet, and on the back feet, a tall woman wearing a light blue business suit walked in hastily, her eyes lit up when they saw Baizi and the two. "Excuse me, is it Mr. Baizi and Miss Nazi?" The tall slender woman stood about 1 meter away from the two and asked respectfully. Baizi and Nazi looked at each other, got up immediately, nodded and said, "Yes, is there any problem?" "That's right, because we made a mistake for a while and didn't find that Mr. Baizi was the most senior VIP specially marked by more airlines. It's really our dereliction of duty to make you work hard," said. The tall slender woman bowed and said, "Apologize. To be honest, this attitude really has the meaning of treating customers as gods." But Baizi is also clear. Such a gesture is obviously not something that ordinary people can enjoy. It should be the effect of the special marking of the so-called most senior VIP. More airlines, it's interesting. A flash of brilliance flashed in Baizi's eyes, and he also responded, "It's okay, just arrange the plane to take off as soon as possible." "Thank you very much." The tall slender woman bowed deeply, and then asked cautiously, "That's right, Mr. Baizi, if you're in a hurry, we can also arrange a non-stop flight, I don't know." "Oh." Baizi raised his eyebrows, pondered a little, then nodded and said, "That would be troublesome." "No trouble, no trouble. Mr. Baizi, and this lady, please come with me." The tall slender woman hurriedly waved her hand and drew the palm of her hand. While leading the way in front, she took out the walkie-talkie on her shoulder and arranged it. Immediately arrange a special plane, clear the runway, and adjust the route to Fenglai City. This armored bird is really luxurious enough to be honest. Inside, refrigerators, color TVs, sofas. Everything is available, and even the compartments have private bathrooms and a small bar. The dining places are also separated separately, and there are special ingredients and chefs. And there is also an entertainment area at the rear of the cabin. In addition to the driver and chef, the 6 flight attendants prepared are all beautiful and charming. To be frank, the experience is quite good. Anyway, Baizi took Nazichi Lulian's little ones to eat and drink leisurely on the plane, and after a fairly plain nap together, unconsciously, they spent their first day on the plane. Day 2. Early morning. Ah! The morning light that was about to be bright came in from the curtains on the right side and at the feet. With the faint roar, Baizi narrowed his eyes slightly, and after a heish, he finally woke up from his long sleep. A soft and wide duvet covers the body. Bowing his head, it was the pretty faces of Cerulean and Nazian sleeping. Carefully get up from the square bed. Get out of the bedroom compartment. He raised his hand to stop the blonde flight attendant who was waiting in front of the door from blurting out greetings. Baizi was not in a hurry to wash up, so he came to the front of the cabin and sat down near the window. Open the curtains. Looking at the floating clouds that are constantly passing by, and the water elves flying up from time to time in the blue ocean below, he has a leisurely expression. As the plane continued to move forward, the unique natural features and climate of the elf world were suddenly revealed. The island that was skipped 10 minutes ago was still a green spring scene, and the next island not far from it turned out to be a pair of silver. The winter scenery is covered with light and snow. In just a few hours, it seems to be constantly passing through the 4 seasons. It's like a corridor through time in anime. Baizi was fascinated by this scene for a while. Like the neighboring Kanto area, the Chengdu area has a mild climate, but it is slightly wetter than the Kanto area. At the same time, compared with the Kanto where the alliance headquarters was established, the Chengdu area is more rural. Besides, the Chengdu area is also the birthplace of many traditional cultures. For example, Buddhism and Shinto culture are prosperous around Uenju City and Kikyo City. Hanoki Town has a culture of worshipping dumb beasts, and the ancient ninjutsu is also from Kaji Town in Chengdu. In Yanmo City, which is located between the mountains, the culture of dragons also arises here, which is very unique. Finally, in terms of topography, the Chengdu region is also a bit more complex than the Kanto region, which is mostly forest and plains. The western region is mainly low-lying and forested, where most of the city's population resides. Its center is the technological, industrial and economic center of Chengdu, which is comparable to the Golden City of Kanto. There are abundant water sources in the west and south. Its Zanlin City, which connects two waterways, faces the mainland of Chengdu across the sea and is located on an independent island far away from the mainland. In addition to the Blue City in the east, the island in the east between the cliffs in the west is the entrance to the largest hunting wild area in Chengdu. And the south coast. The place surrounded by mountains is the destination of Bai Zi's trip, Fenglai City. 1.7 What is completely different from other towns in Chengdu is that Fenglai City, which has only emerged in recent decades, has a style that is not as full of local flavor and antiquity as the Chengdu area. High-rise buildings and heavy traffic. There are many windmills dotted between the cities. There are also man-made islands specially used to hold the Wind Festival and a long winding bridge connecting the urban area across the sea, making Fenglai City look modern as a whole. The afternoon of the third day. May 27th. On the eve of the Wind Festival, Baizi and Nazi finally set foot on this wind city, which is surrounded by mountains and faces the sea. P.S. An overview of Fenglai City -- Chapter 190. Take off Nazi and explore the mountains and forests at night -- Please order. Phew. Standing on the street outside the airport in Fenglai City, Nazi took a deep breath, and after slowly exhaling it, she said with a smile on her face, "The sea breeze in this city is completely different from that of Lampolchi in Kanto, it has a warm feeling. Taste." Quote. Warm taste. Baizi was stunned when he heard the words, and after a few sniffs, he only felt that the coastal areas in the Kanto region were more humid and hot. But he didn't make a bad scene, but nodded in approval, took Nazi's jade hand, stood in a shady place, pinched the tip of Nazi's nose and said, "There is indeed a different feeling, okay. Let's wait here, someone will come and pick us up soon." With that, he raised his wrist and sent Lily a position. Then he forgot to glance at the beauty beside him, and the corner of his mouth couldn't help but rise slightly. Having been in the same room for 3 days with a beautiful girl who has feelings for him, if Baizi can stay completely unmoved, then there is really something wrong. Therefore, on a beautiful night, Baizi meticulously picked O2 off Nazi, the purple and glamorous snow plum. And after this, Nazi's heart, which seemed to be completely open, was like a delicate blooming flower, which changed from the indifference of the past and became extraordinarily bright. I didn't make Baizi and Nazi wait too long. Squeak, accompanied by the rapid braking sound of the vehicle, a silver-gray sedan with a golden-yellow two-winged elf standing on the front of the car parked on the side of the road, attracting the attention of many passing passengers and citizens. The golden Lugia head logo, the streamlined appearance of silver-gray. Baizi recognized this Flying Wing automobile group, which is owned by Shalouf, and only recently released the top limited edition luxury sedan, the Flying Wing 3. Moreover, this special, silver-gray paint extension with no reflection in the sun is also a limited edition of this series. Only 200 units will be sold worldwide, with a starting price of 220 million for the Flying Wing 3. Phantom. Tisk tisk, a big toy for the rich. Speak up. Since the Golden City siege incident, the news has often been seen on the news that the rocket's sub-bases have been pulled out. However, the arrests were basically small minions, and the rockets disappeared completely from that day. Immediately afterwards, Shuru continued to move. Not only the internal equity has been mobilized. Its pharmaceutical, clothing, automobile and other industries have begun to launch various new products on the market on a large scale. To be honest, such an approach is completely the style of the sunset industry. In a healthy industry, it is impossible to put all kinds of products on the market like this. They will be upgraded, bit by bit, giving you the feeling that the product is slowly being updated. In this way, although the money is a little slower, it can be repeated, cutting leaks back and forth, and maintaining a stable market output frequency within the group. What Shirov is doing now seems to be facing a huge funding gap, so it feels like he is desperate to gather funds. As this approached because Cheomung is about to be fully born, a thought flashed in Bai Zi's eyes. You must know that at the time of the Golden City battle, the rocket's secret warehouse and rampant amplifiers were on the top floor of Shirov. To say that Shirov and the rockets are innocent, the real ghost will not believe it. Now, the rocket's various light and dark industries have been hit so badly, and the huge cost of making Mewtwo must be made up from other places. And to achieve this level, it is obviously a kind of desperate feeling. Therefore, it is not difficult to guess that the birth of Cheomung has come to the last moment. Kacha, Big Brother. Flying Wing 3. The Phantom's car door opened, and a soft and cute little voice interrupted Bai Zi's sudden thoughts. I saw Lily crawling down from the open back door of the car with a small leather drum, throwing off her two calves, and running towards herself with a bright expression on her face. Be careful. Bai Zi hurriedly stepped forward to catch the opponent, got up and picked up the little guy, and rubbed the opponent's head. Hee hee tilde. Lily stretched out her small round hand and scratched the back of her head, giggling. The joy on his face was about to overflow. He also raised his head and arched in the direction of Bai Zi's palm, obviously enjoying the head touching and killing that Bai Zi gave, showing a very intimate expression. And at this time, a young woman with short violet hair the same color as Lily got off the other side of the car. Also, from the cab position, a well-dressed woman in a suit stepped out. Rescuing Lily was indeed an easy task for him, not to mention, Lily's grandfather, Hassan, the top business tycoon in the Fengyuan area. A gift of Moore's level. The young woman stepped forward quickly after getting out of the car, looked at Lily who was tired of Bai Zi's arms, and then suddenly bowed 90 degrees to Bai Zi, with a trembling tone of gratitude. Said, really, thank you very much. If it weren't for you, if something happened to Lily, I really don't know what to do. It's okay, don't be so polite, Lily and this little guy is also very compatible. Bai Zi chuckled and shook his head, but he didn't take credit. Anyway, we will definitely remember this kindness. The young woman with short violet hair was obviously a kind-hearted person, so she decided to put the matter to a conclusion. Waiting for Bai Zi to refute, he directly changed the subject and stretched out his hand to Bai Zi. By the way, I don't know your name yet. My name is Mia, Lily's mother. Okay. Reluctantly, he touched the tip of his nose. Afterwards, he moved Lily 370 in his arms to the left, also stretched out his right hand, grabbed the other's fingertips, and parted with a touch. At the same time, he said politely, my name is Bai Zi, I'm from Junshin Town, it's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Mia. With this good relationship, and Lily, the little cutie who was a matchmaker, the two sides quickly became acquainted. Sit in the extended version of the Flying Wing 3 Phantom series sedan. Drive all the way into the Fenglai Hotel in the city center. After a sumptuous meal, I accompanied Lily, the little guy, to the amusement park on the artificial island for an afternoon. After dinner, I accompanied Natsi to discuss the new usage of the bathroom. Until the dead of night. Only then did Bai Zi get up quietly, and after putting a small sip on Natsi's forehead, he quickly disappeared into the night. In fact, he didn't hide this from Natsi. But it was obvious that Natsi had no strength to act with him now. And tonight, he just wanted to find the way. After all, Zeraola has been hiding his whereabouts for nearly 50 years, so I'm afraid it's not so easy for him to find it. Chapter 191. Yayi, no. For full order. At the same time that Bai Zi went deep into the mountains and forests outside the urban area by himself. Located in the Kanto region. An estuary of Honglian Island. Under the moonlight. 3 figures, 1 big, 2 small and 3 small, struggled to climb out of the shoreline. Then, regardless of their wet bodies, they all turned over and lay on their backs in rows on the reefs on the shore. A girl with a brown ponytail head, a purple beast with painted fragments, and a small turquoise snake. The 3 of them are May, Poison Babe and Ivy Snake who came across the ocean. Speak up. These 3 little ones are really unlucky, but they are also lucky. After the ferry arrived in the waters near the Kanto region, it was very unlucky to encounter a convoy of sea smuggling spirits. When a luxury ferry encounters a robber, it goes without saying that he is forced to stop and board the ship to loot the finances. Not to mention the unfortunate May. With a rare elf like Poison Babe who was unwilling to enter the elf ball, the hunter gang who transferred to smuggle elf was naturally targeted. Yayi don't look at her usual naivety. But as one of the protagonists of a generation, excellent traits are never lacking. After realizing your situation, May jumped off the ferry with almost no hesitation, and drowned into the sea with the 2 elves. And with her falling into the water. The sudden storm also hindered the opponent's pursuit. Yayi was also swept into an unknown place. How to say she was lucky? Because even so, May and Dubé were not swept away by the wave, and they were not even in danger of life and death. Along the way, either the migration of Laplace gave them a ride, or they encountered some ocean flotsam that happened to be edible. Although embarrassed. But in the end, it was safely sent to a shallow sea area at the mouth of Honglian Island. After saying goodbye to the Laplace tribe, after several days of training, May, whose swimming skills have become a mermaid in the water, swam ashore with Poison Babe and the Vine Snake. As for why you don't have to fly or enter the Pokeball. Well, Poison Babe is for fun, and the Vine Snake is forced. PFF, tilde. PFF tilde. On the shore, May and Dubé, who were waiting on their backs, spit out a short fountain from their mouths. Afterwards, one person, one pet, turned his head and looked at the rattan snake on the far left. The corner of the rattan snake's mouth twitched. He resisted the urge to slap the water in his mouth onto this man's pampered face. Tears in eyes. With a miserable face, a spray of water was sprayed out. PFF tilde. Water column splash. Immediately. He tilde. He tilde. May and Poison Babe immediately rolled around happily, as if they had accomplished something very powerful and very gratifying. The rattan snake, who was left alone, reluctantly pulled out the rattan and covered his eyes. Played around for a while. As she got up and twisted the seawater on her clothes, she asked casually, Dubé, according to the direction indicated by that thing, we should be not far from that guy, right? Dubé nodded affirmatively first, then, he glanced in the direction of the vibrating and pulling feeling of the painted fragments in his arms, and then turned to look at Mei, who had a questioning face. Moment. I.e. tilde. The purple little beast spun and aimed the needles on the top of its head on the ground, and the purple liquid sprayed out, and began to paint and paint. After a while, a purple arrow drawing appeared on the ground. Huh. Yayi glanced at the arrow on the ground pointing to the northwest, and took out a wet picture book from the pocket of her hot pants. Thorn, let me see. This is Red Lotus Island. Wow. Hot spring resort. Clicking on the picture book with some water in, connected to the internet, and the first step in determining the geographical location, Yayi's eyes lit up, and she looked a little eager to try. Yeah, tilde. Seeing this, the poisonous babe next to her hurriedly pulled the hem of her shirt to remind her. Okay, I got it. Yayi pouted, retreated the interface to the world map, and compared it with the compass in the upper left corner for a while, and saw that the cute little face suddenly crossed. This is clearly pointing in the direction of the Silver Mountains. The Silver Mountains are so big, how can I find someone? And if it is not in the Silver Mountains, then it will be the Chengdu area. It's far away. Quote. Mei looked stunned, but then she clenched her fists with a look full of energy. Never mind, the Yayi search team must take a rest. Hot Springs. And Odin. With star eyes, Yayi clenched her fists excitedly. But then, when he reached out to touch the direction of his pocket, he suddenly felt empty. W equals winking face tilde. There was a wisp of sweat on Mei's temples. 1 catch, 2 catch, 3 catch. A very bad premonition arose in Yayi's heart, who was constantly feeling the air. After stiffening her neck and bowing her head, she found that there were still traces of the pockets containing wallets, clothing, documents, and other items. Yayi pursed her lips, glanced at the picture book in her hand, and said happily, fortunately, it's okay, good Jows, I still have the picture book, the big deal is to pay electronically. Not finished. Kacha, CC, swish, one by one, snowflakes quickly flashed from the elf picture book in his hand, and then, after a few quick flashes, the screen suddenly went black in a burst of smoke. Mei. Poison babe. Vine snake. There was silence for a moment. This desolate estuary suddenly raised a scream like a defeated dog. No. P.S. Hanhan Yayi beautiful picture tilde dust. Chapter 192. The second person with the eyes, Zeraora. For full order. The mountains at night are quiet, and under the moonlight, there is a sense of tranquility. But if you are careless, you will easily lose your life in such a late-night wilderness. Because many snakes, cats and carnivorous elves hunt in the middle of the night, and an unarmed human being can easily die in the hands of these silent hunters. But Bai Zei is bold. Not to mention that his own physique and superpowers are enough to compete with the general quasi-king elf. In the shadows under his feet. But there is also a guardian beast, Marshadow, who has set foot in the realm of the gods. Wu tilde. A dull low roar came, and along with the trembling of the grass and trees, a awakened ring bear stood up. The moment the sleepy eyes swept across Bai Zei, they sharpened. Double palms, white energy claws stretched out. Facing the moonlight. A huge shadow shrouded Bai Zei, and the bear's body leaned slightly, with the intention of attacking immediately. Circle Bear. Elite Advanced, Level 30, 5100ths. Bai Zei squinted and glanced at the circle bear on the left side of the path under his feet, who had clearly made an attack intent, his blue eyes like 370 clouds and mist under the sunglasses flickered slightly. Subsequently, he directly ignored the opponent and walked forward. Roots of blue veins suddenly burst out from the forehead of the circle bear, and the body of the circle bear, who was surging with anger, was about to roar and make a random grab. A pair of jasper-like eyes suddenly appeared in front of its eyes, which made the circle bear couldn't help being stunned. But haven't waited for it to respond. Next second, the world scene changed, and the pair of jasper eyes that looked at him seemed to be rendered, instantly turning red as blood. Immediately afterwards, a strong sense of tightness came from the surface of the body. The hard touches like dragon scales. The enormous force pressing against his throat made it unable to groan. Effortlessly raised his head. Enter the eye. A pitch-black dragon shadow like a dragon hangs down from the sky, and the dragon's claws are like iron hoops, clasping itself tightly between the claws. Immediately afterwards, the burning white energy rose from the opponent's opening and burst from almost zero distance. Hiccup. The circle bear's pupils shrank, and the fear of the sudden attack, accompanied by the huge pressure on the chest and throat, suddenly made it roll his eyes, and he fainted from the lack of oxygen. Follow the circle bear on his back. The system's prompt sound also sounded. 1. Your Zoroark killed the wild circle bear in seconds, slightly gained, experience value +1, hallucination feature proficiency +1, the levels of the two sides are too different, therefore, Tiandao rewards for remuneration are naturally dispensable. Bai Zei didn't care about that. Going deep into the forest all the way, there were at least 7 or 8 wild elves who woke up. No matter how small a mosquito was, it was considered meat. Apart from that, Zoroark also took this opportunity to master his innate ability to evolve again. Just like just now. Zoroark, who used his hallucination ability to defeat the Circle Bear, didn't even raise any illusions. From the outside, it was just a look at each other, and the Circle Bear was frightened and fainted as if he couldn't breathe. This is Zoroark's new and deeper use of the hallucination feature. Using special energy to deceive the opponent's human perception, and throw the illusion directly into the opponent's brain. This is the prototype of mirror flowers and moon. But now, in order to achieve such an effect, not only must there be a close look or touch, but the gap between the two sides must be at least one level higher than the other. But there are still plenty of flaws. This is also a capability direction with very high development prospects. Especially in the suddenness and concealment, the scene just now has already been fully expressed. Well done. Baizi glanced at Zoroark who was following him, and after complimenting him, he asked with great interest, "By the way, Zoroark, what kind of illusion did you use this time?" "It's just the image of the black fisher seat." Zoroark's somewhat lazy and familiar voice of the royal sister rang in Baizi's ears. This was not telepathy, but also a use of hallucinations. The sound was actually fake. It just deceives the phenomena presented by the sense of hearing. However, it also gave Zoroark a new and special way of communicating. "What, do you want to see it? It's very exciting." Zoroark's voice always seemed to have a hint of provocation in it, just as it was about to continue to say something. "Huh, chi." Baizi looked up with a feeling of feeling, and Zoroark also stopped in front of Baizi with a flickering figure, and between his claws, the pitch-black evil energy factor instantly condensed. I saw it under the bright moonlight. A golden yellow, gray and black humanoid figure flew against the moon, with the slightest thunder of lightning. It struck straight down, and landed on the ground more than 10 meters in front of Baizi and Zoroark. He got up slowly, revealing the face that looked like a cat and leopard. Its whole body fur is mainly yellow and black, the calf, lower body, upper arms and face are black and thin, and the rest is more golden and fluffy. On the yellow fluff of the thighs and forearms, there are zigzag, black stripes shaped like lightning. The forehead and chest are blue, the beard is also blue lightning-shaped, and the exposed pad of the right paw is also blue. Behind its head, a long tuft of golden-yellow ponytail-like fur extended from between its shoulders, and it looked very handsome like a ribbon fluttering in the wind. Zeraora. Baizi narrowed his eyes and called out the name of the handsome big cat elf in front of him. He didn't expect that the other party actually appeared in front of him on his own initiative. However, according to the information in the theatrical version, because of the mistreatment of the environment by the people of Fenglai City, after the fire decades ago, Zeraora seems to be quite hostile to humans. So, it's here to expel me. Baizi's heart turned back and forth, but the blue eyes surging like clouds were also aimed at Zeraora for the first time. Immediately, a series of data panels appeared in Baizi's eyes one by one. PS, big cats appeared. Chapter 193, Phantom Fox vs. Electric Cat. Plasma Lightning Punch. For full order. Race, Zeraora. Attribute, Electricity. Characteristic, Power Storage. Level, Gym Intermediate, Level 42, 95/100. Potential, Level 2 God, Extreme. HP, 88, Attack, 112, Defense, 75, Special Attack, 102, Special Defense, 80, Speed, 143. Exclusive Skill, Plasma Lightning Fist. Skills, Lightning Flash, High 5 Surprise Attack, Enhanced Punch, Electric Light, Loud Roar, Random Grab, Quick Defense, Split, Volt Replacement, Charging, Thunder and Lightning Punch, Close Combat. Open Black Lens Bracket Condition, Good Close Black Lens Bracket. Introduction. The meat pads of the hands and feet emit a large amount of current, thereby creating a strong magnetic field. The power of this magnetic field can also make it overcome gravity to float in the air and move at high speed. It has a lonely personality and has a strong willpower. It actually reached the limit of the second-level god. It's a good qualification, it's a pity. Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly, and he sighed slightly in his heart. The data panel of the Zeraora in front of him is indeed excellent to the naked eye. The qualifications of the second-level god limit, the thunder and lightning punches in close combat learned by leapfrogging, and the strong willpower it shows. But the same. This one is at least a few decades old. Even among the Eudemons, the level of a young and middle-aged electric cat is only level 42, not even a quasi-celestial king. To be honest, this is too wasteful for strength training. The thorns were accompanied by bursts of lightning, and Zeraora let out a low roar towards Baizi and Zoroark. Although Baizi, who had not turned on telepathy, couldn't understand what it meant, but from the attitude look, the other party is obviously very unwelcome to him. It seems that it is not an easy task to conquer this big cat. Baizi pondered in his heart, but said in his mouth, Zeraora, we have no evil. But the words were not finished. Stabbed one by one, in a burst of blue lightning, Zeraora turned and rushed like lightning, and the two claws wrapped in the lightning popped out, directly facing Baizi and Zoroark's. The direction has launched an attack. Electric light. Slap, fraud. Baizi's face sank, and he raised his hand and snapped his fingers while shouting loudly. There was a twinkle in Zoroark's eyes. Next second, the surrounding scenery changed drastically. The bright moon was still hanging high in the sky, but the path in the forest suddenly turned into a steep cliff. And Zeraora, who flew up, just rushed out of this cliff, and was about to fall into the abyss under the cliff. Ow! Zeraola's expression was startled, but fortunately, it responded fast enough, and bursts of blue electric light erupted from the pads under the soles of the feet, with the help of the powerful magnetic force generated. Stomping in the air. Shoot twice towards the cliff behind you. But just as it was about to hit the ground again, the evil low roar suddenly sounded in its ears, and then, the long sideburns extending from its shoulders were suddenly pulled by a huge force behind it. Afterwards, his vision slammed as if the sky was turned upside down, accompanied by a dull sound. Zeraora turned upside down and was smashed directly on the ground. Fraud. The huge force was accompanied by the invasion of evil elements, making Zeraora couldn't help but let out a painful groan. And then, Baizi's instructions followed. Pursue the victory, blast the dark. Accompanied by the gathering of surging evil energy, a purple-black shock wave with the thickness of an adult male's arm condensed from Zoroja's raised and folded hands. It turned into a dark energy ball, and the majestic energy fluctuations even broke through the surrounding illusion. Like a canvas being torn off. The scenery returned to the quiet forest path. But then, the huge dark energy ball that was several meters in diameter and shone with black-red electric light was also smashed by Zoroark head-on. Dark blast. The stabbing blue electric light burst out, and Zeraora didn't even think about resisting, and immediately wanted to use the magnetic force mobilized by the electricity to escape. But just as the body jumped forward a little, a pulling sensation from the vest suddenly came, causing its body to stop suddenly, and it fell back to the ground again. Ow! The dark orb of energy expanded in Zeraora's blue vertical pupils. Zeraora's pupils shrank suddenly. Stabbed one by one, blue light shining brightly. At the same time, Zoroark also released the soles of his feet on the golden horsetail of Zeraora, leapt into the air, and pressed his palms down. The pitch-black shock wave rushed down like a tidal wave, slamming down heavily. Zeraora. Call. Rumble. The sound of continuous explosions sounded, and the ability of darkness like the night burst open in an instant, turning into a surging energy shock wave raging in all directions. Immediately afterwards, the turbulent evil-type energy factor was like a riot, spinning and rising into a semicircular energy area raging, completely engulfing the original location of Zeraora. 0. Ask the flowers to turn into an upside-down bowl and keep expanding, crushing and repelling all the grass and soil along the way. Thorn. Thorn, a little electric light still exploded in it, shining, disappearing. Like Zeraora's last struggle. Baizi's expression was indifferent. He took a few random steps back, and his movements were sensitive to avoid the raging range of energy. Slightly pulling down the sunglasses on the bridge of his nose, Baizi's power quietly operated, his blue eyes shining like a nebula staring at the situation on the field. Not far ahead. Zoroark appeared looming on the branch of a tree. One hand stroked the trunk of the tree, and the black mist filled the naturally hanging right paw. His expression was light, but he was always vigilant about the situation on the field. The influence of a good trainer on the elves is profound. Oh, this vigilance! It also gradually integrated into Zoroark's bones and battles. Crackling, crackling and crackling, one by one, the sound of lightning shocks began to sound from the evil-type energy factors that gradually spread into mist. Immediately after, one by one, blue lightning bolts like sharp arrows pierced the sky, and Zeraora, who was covered in bruises and wounds, rose into the sky. Like a thunderbolt slash, when it reached the highest point, it held the thunder and lightning, and the two claws pulled two lightning bolts connected to the ground, Zeraola, and shot out suddenly. Like a thunderbolt, it rushed right in front of Zoroark. Shaped like a tiger. Dazzling lightning flashed, and Zeraora's forehead, beard, chest, and pads all shone with scorching blue light. Owla ola o ola o ola o ola ow. Followed by a loud shout. Immediately, centered on the claws that it suddenly struck out, a large dazzling and magnificent azure electric light burst out, forming a waterfall that fell vertically like a chain. The Zoroark, which was wrapped in a wrap, was completely enveloped. And suddenly tightened towards the center. The faint blue electric light shrouded around it, like the silent thunder of judgment in nature, seems to be angered but unwilling to be lonely in this deserted jungle, and it suddenly disappears, giving people a strong and desolate stillness. A feeling of lightning flashes. Plasma lightning punch. Several. Chapter 194. Zeraora's hesitation, uninvited guest. For full order. After a while, Lei Guang converged. The verdant giant tree that Zoroark was standing on had turned to ashes, including a few meters around it, leaving only a piece of scorched earth. Huh, huh. Zeraora gasped heavily, and shook her body. It was almost exhausted, and it couldn't support it after using this full blow. Legs are soft. Kneeling directly to the ground. However, even so, it still looked a little worried and looked towards the scorched earth in front of it. Forced by the previous situation. Under the sense of crisis, it didn't have time to worry too much, so it used a full-strength plasma lightning punch. Zeraora is withdrawn and stubborn. But it is kind in nature, and even it is just a move to drive away the human beings it hates, let alone the elves. Therefore, it really does not want to take the life of the other party because of its own mistakes. But, when it tried to raise its head, 370s, it was suddenly surprised, OVOA. In front of him was a dark scorched earth. It seemed that the opponent who had caused him a lot of suffering had already been torn apart by the endless lightning shock of the plasma lightning punch. But then, before the sadness rose in Zeraora's heart, a fatal sense of crisis suddenly came from the back of his head. Zeraora's heart was beating violently, and it only had time to tilt its head to the left front. Whoosh! A sharp claws that shone with cold light immediately swiped across Zeraora's right face, and the mist-like dark evil elements surged around, like a razor, with a splash of blood. Street test. Here. After Zeraola tried his best to dodge the blow, he immediately rolled forward, and his movements were very embarrassing. After hitting a tree trunk with his back, he stopped with a groan. Raising his head and looking not far away, Zoroark, whose fur was smooth and tidy, was completely unscathed, and Zeraola's pupils tightened. This guy. Is it the ability to create illusions from before? So tilde. In the white light, Zoroark's scarlet claws lit up with bursts of white light, and his body bowed slightly, obviously preparing to pursue the victory and completely disintegrate the opponent's combat effectiveness. However, Zoroark, That's it. Baizi called out and stopped Zoroark's pursuit, and walked slowly from the other side of the forest to a short distance in front of Zeraora and stood still. Touched his chin. Glancing at Zeraora, who still did not give in even so, he said with a chuckle, "Good eyes. Not just eyes. Judging from the battle just now, although Yeluzi has a lot of problems, its responsiveness and handling of crises are also good. Plus excellent willpower and its aptitude. This Zeraora is quite satisfactory to Baizi, both in terms of internal potential and external performance. To be frank, he is even more excited. My name is Baizi, Zeraora, and I sincerely invite you to be my family and partner. How's it going?" Baizi approached the vigilant Zeraora without any precaution, put his palm in front of this handsome big cat, and sincerely invited him. At the same time, the power of Baizi's power to soothe the mind suddenly poured out, revealing his full heart to Zeraora. According to the rules of the elf world, Baizi didn't need to do this at all. Throw the ball directly. Then slowly acclimate. Because after all, this world and elves are actually not equal. Even if there are a bunch of so-called public welfare people who advocate the so-called equality theory, who can fully understand the hearts of elves. All kinds of advocacy, all kinds of slogans. However, from some perspectives, when such propaganda is carried out, the status of the elves has been invisibly lowered. After all, most people's positioning of elves is just pets and weapons. Even for most trainers, elves are just a way to gain fame, fortune, and status. They may say that the elves are like their own family, their own partners, but in fact, will they train together when the elves are training? When eating, will they be served together, and will they be prepared with food that can only satisfy their appetite? Will you care about their hearts, respect and care about their thoughts? In fact, most people don't. Of course, Baizi does not deny that there is a sincere heart in this world, and treats elves as real family members, and there are people who love elves, such as Chalu, Xiaohuang, and even Uncle Lu. But such people, to be frank, compared to the overall human beings, it is really too little, too little. Baizi really loves the world of elves, and for his elves, he also sincerely treats them as his family. Therefore, for him, subduing the elves is not only a conquest by force, but also an interaction between minds. It may be a bit hypocritical to say this, but Baizi is really sincere. For his elf, he is willing to give 100% of his sincerity in exchange for his sincerity, instead of forcibly subduing zero. Looking at the outstretched palm of the young man in front of him, and feeling the sincere intention that wraps his body and mind, Zeraora fell silent for a while. It has been alone since its birth, with no parents, no kind, and no friends. Although upholding the inner justice to maintain this forest and the elves in it. But it has always acted as a solitary protector. Zeraora took this forest as her home. But its heart is lonely. Family. This warm word touched Zeraola's heart, the warm power that seemed to wash the soul, and the heart that actively approached its cold heart, which made it even more indulgent. But are humans really credible? Is it really worth entrusting the kind of humans who wantonly destroy and capture elves regardless of the lives of others? But it can feel the sincerity of the young man in front of him. But Zeraora, for the first time in her life, fell into confusion. And in this quiet waiting and silence, su-su-su-su, one by one, the sound of trembling of plants and trees suddenly came. Then, a tall, rough man in a dark green camouflage combat uniform with a shawl with curly hair like seaweed stepped out. And on his side, two giant black dogs with a height of more than 1.4 meters at the shoulders guarded the man's left and right. The double horns are bent back 1.7, the tail is slender and the tip is a triangular cone. The shoulders, back, chest and limbs are covered with this exoskeleton-like armor and stomach. It is the evil fire canine elf, Heluga. On the shoulders of men. A main body is blue, with black wings, a pink nose in the shape of a heart, and at the end of the lower body, a bat elf with two pink tails intertwined and twisted in a spiral hangs upside down on its shoulder straps. This is a heart bat with both superpower and flying. Their special nostrils can emit sound waves of various wavelengths, and even have powerful ultrasonic waves that can even destroy concrete. Chapter 195. It is always easy to use heroes to save beauty. Please order. It actually exists. The green seaweed-headed man raised his wrist as if no one else was there, and after a few operations, a virtual screen suddenly appeared on the mechanical armguard. On the slightly blurred screen, in the sea of fire, an unreal golden-yellow phantom leapt into the air. It's Zeraora. Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly, and the green seaweed-headed man who suddenly appeared in front of him was not a good character at first glance. As soon as the two Veruga with saliva in their mouths appeared, a thick bloody aura spread over. Not to mention the man in front of him, in Baizi's perception, the surging maliciousness that is barely concealed. Poacher. Baizi was thinking, and at the same time, the left hand hanging by his side waved to Zoroark, who was quietly disappearing behind him. Zoroark, who was about to touch it slowly, moved for a while, and after a little thought, he quickly understood what Baizi meant. And then, familiar voices are transmitted through telepathy. Zoroark, don't be in a hurry for a while. I need to use this guy to play a show. But you see, the moment I succeed, you will take the lead to get rid of that heart bat. Understand? Oh, too. Zoroark didn't hear back. Baizi could feel its reluctance to put him at risk, but it didn't appear to disrupt the situation, and he obviously acquiesced. Seriously. The suspected target in front of him was the time when the poachers from Zeraora came. Although he is sincere enough, he believes that he can impress Zeraora in the end, but in the same way, he can also see that Zeraora has a very serious heart disease because of the fire decades ago. If I want it to regain its trust in human beings, I am afraid it will take a long time to grind it. As the saying goes, strong women are afraid of entanglement. Baizi made a plan at the beginning, to be prepared to make a brown sugar candy, and move the other party a little bit. But now it seems that someone has set up a stage for him to save the beauty by a hero. And Heluga, Quasi-King Peak, level 59, 75 100ths. Heluga, Quasi-King Peak, level 59, 80 100ths. Heart Bat, Gym Advanced, level 44, 50 100ths. 2-peak Quasi-Celestial King's Helugia and a Gym High level Heart Bat. Seriously speaking, this strength is not weak. But obviously, it's not far enough to make Baizi roll over. Well, you can be a little arrogant here. With this strength, you want Baizi to roll over. That's really overthinking it. But obviously, the other party didn't think so. As one of the most famous elf hunters in the Chengdu area, the man named Jik also belongs to the Hunter Guild, a semi-public underground organization that spreads all over the world. It is naturally far from the 4 special A-level bounty hunters with alphabetical titles. He didn't even get an A-level selection. But the old Quasi-King strength. As long as it's not too jumpy. Most of the time, it's enough to make him run wild. Although Baizi is tall and slender, Jiake can see at a glance that the other party is not old. How strong can a young man be? All his attention at the moment was on the big golden cat beside Baizi. Zeraora, this is a cherished breed that has not been circulated at all, a brand new breed. Capturing it, with the cherishment of this guy, perhaps, I can exchange for a fully domesticated third-stage quasi-god within the organization. At that time, I will no longer stop at the B level. A level, even better than A level. It's not a bad idea to get a letter title. Jake's heart was hot. He didn't care why the Zeraora was injured, nor the identity of the young man in front of him. Anyway, in the wilderness, as long as his hands and feet are clean enough, who can find his head? After thinking about it, a wicked smile flashed on Jake's face. Heart Bat, use ultrasound. Wowed Tilda. In the strange cry like a baby crying, a circle of heart-shaped sound waves that seemed to be materialized surged out of the heart-shaped nostrils of the heart bat. The heart-shaped sound wave swelled up immediately after it was separated from the body of the heart bat. The circles that turned into heart-shaped circles quickly advanced in the direction of Bai Zi. The vegetation along the way was directly minced. In the blink of an eye, he approached Bai Zi and Xylaula. Ow! Zeraola's pupils shrank, and he subconsciously struggled to get up to stop him. And Bai Zi couldn't help but feel a hint of warmth in his eyes when he saw Xylaula's arm in front of him. But he was quick enough to respond. Bang! The short figure stopped Xylaula's waist. I have to say that it is very thin, and the touch also has a crisp and numb plush feel, and it feels great. Messy, thoughts flashed through my mind. Bai Zi also stepped on the tree trunk behind Zeraora. Subsequently, bend your knees. Bai Zi jumped up with his feet like sticking to the tree trunk, and avoided the strong sound waves that swept across. Rumbling, the trees were directly smashed, and the affected ground was even more like being plowed. On the other side, Bai Zi, who was out of the ultrasonic range, suddenly twisted his waist when he was about to land, using himself as a meat pad, and smashed it hard on the ground. Even without losing his momentum, he slid a few meters on the ground before he could stop. Humph! To be honest, this is not light, but looking at Zeraora staring at him in his arms, Bai Zi felt that everything was worth it. Hidden away. Jia K's face was startled, then he stepped out and said with a smile, "Boy, your reaction is very sensitive, but..." Street test. Bai Zi has no intention of listening to his 387 nonsense at all. He is just a tool person. He has completed his mission. Then, naturally it is time to leave. So. I don't know when I have touched Zoroark, who is behind Jik, a ray of scarlet flashes in his eyes, and the evil energy factor on the raised right claw condenses into a knife, and it cuts straight down. Puff and die. Woo. Woo. The blood splattered, and the two Hylugas who couldn't react at all suddenly turned red. Thick flame pillars spewed out of their mouths. But Zoroark had already disappeared into the air one step ahead, letting the two Harugas who were madly breathing out the blazing sun swept away. And wait until they react a little bit. When he turned his vicious gaze in Bai Zi's direction again. Kang Yo, in the crisp sound like the clash of gold and iron, the cold insects and beasts that attacked directly were like guns, piercing their eyes. P.S. White Cat Tilda. Chapter 196. Never the same choice. For full order. You command Zoroark to kill Jake's heart bat in seconds, gain a little, combat experience +5, Zoroark experience +8 times 2, street test proficiency +1 x2. Your big needle be killed Heluga x2, slightly gained, experience value +8 +10, high-speed movement proficiency +2, straight drill proficiency +2, fatal needle proficiency +2. Accompanied by the system prompt sounding in his ear, the figure of the giant needle became quietly, and the figure of Zoroark slowly emerged from Bai Zi's side. The speed and stealth skills of the giant stinger became more and more outstanding. So do Zoroark. The hallucination characteristics have almost been used as instinct, and the use of it is superb. Of course, all of this is naturally inseparable from God's reward for hard work. Whether in wartime or in normal times, they will treat all this as daily life and integrate it into their own instincts. Good job. Bai Zi praised with a chuckle, took out the wound medicine bandage, and was about to treat Zeraora's injury. Ow! Zeraora struggled to get up, staring at the cluster of flames on the battlefield not far away. Bai Zi was stunned when he saw this. When he followed Zeraora's gaze, he immediately understood. Okay, I know, leave it to me to handle it, you can just stay here. Talking. With a strong attitude, he pushed Zeraora down again and took out a pokeball from his waist. White light flashed, and Laplace's figure suddenly appeared in front of Bai Zi. Woo! Listening to Laplace's murmur, Bai Zi smiled and slapped the big head that Laplace stretched out in front of him, and pointed to the small cluster of flames. Laplace, put out the fire, use the freezing beam. Woo! Laplace was taken aback for a moment. Shouldn't it be a water-based skill to put out a fire? It's not that it doesn't have water skills. However, After seeing Baizi squeeze his eyes and gesture towards it, it became clear to Lepraston. Kachacha one by one, an astonishing chill rose, and a layer of ice trails suddenly appeared. With a four-legged stroke, Laplace quickly followed the ice trail to the battlefield where the flames were rising. After witnessing the tragic scene on the field, Laplace turned his head and suddenly understood. Wow! Factory tilde. The long neck was easy, and an extremely cold freezing ray suddenly spewed out of the mouth, and the strong freezing force instantly suppressed the flame. A radius of several meters was completely frozen and thawed. Crack, and soon, as the chill grew, a crack rose. Immediately after. At the moment when Laplace closed his hand, this frozen land suddenly turned into pieces of crystal and shattered. Looking at Laplace's winking expression, who was shaking his little head and slid back down the ice path, Baizi suddenly chuckled and shook his head, and continued to deal with Zeraora's injury. The first is simple disinfection and cleaning. Because Zeraora's trauma was not serious, Baizi just dealt with the wound on its face and brushed a wave of favorability. He called out the professional doctor in the team, Gili Egg. Lucky tilde. As soon as the auspicious eggs came out, they first looked at Baizi, and the round hands glowing with pale pink light patted Baizi's torn coat on the back. Immediately, a cool feeling rushed into Baizi's heart. At the same time, the slight swelling and pain on the back also quickly subsided, and Baizi could feel it without looking at him. The little fall injury just now had completely healed. Thank you, Gili Egg tilde. Baizi lightly smiled and hugged Gili's oval body, and then gestured towards Zeraora. Lucky, lucky. Gili Egg beat his chest with some reproach, as if he was admonishing Baizi, and then turned his gaze to Zeraora. In the face of Gili Egg's soft and cute eyes, Zeraora, who has always been arrogant, seemed to have done something guilty. Her eyes wandered, and some did not dare to look at Gili Egg. Seeing this, Baizi couldn't help but raise the corner of his mouth slightly. He didn't expect Gili Egg to seem to be able to restrain Zeraora. What is this? Does one thing overcome one thing? And this time, with a familiar pink light rising, Gili Egg folded his hands together, and then slowly pushed the light in the direction of Zeraora. Under the treatment of auspicious eggs, Zeraora recovered quickly, especially after eating a lucky egg, and even his physical strength almost made up half. How about it, Zeraora, would you like to be my partner? Baizi sent an invitation again. And this time, although Zeraora was still a little hesitant, the movement in his eyes was very obvious. But just when Zeraora was about to put her raised paw into Baizi's palm, the rustling was accompanied by a trembling sound of grass and trees. Heracross, Natural Bird, Mary Lou, Fearless Boy, Shuttlecock Cotton, Tailstand. All kinds of elves emerged from the grass. They all looked at Zeraora silently. And after reaching these gazes, the claws that Zeraora stretched out suddenly stagnated in the air. Baizi frowned slightly. Combined with the description in the theatrical version, Baizi probably guessed Zeraora's concerns at this moment when his thoughts changed. Zeraora, who regards himself as the guardian of this forest, is afraid that after he leaves with Baizi, no one will be able to guard this forest, and the elves in this good money Jiao forest. This sense of justice is exactly the same as that of Koga's ninja frog in the future. But Baizi would never make the same choice as Xiaoji. P.S. I am going to make a big one for the quartz tournament. After all, it is impossible for the protagonist to continue to challenge the gym to play the alliance in the later stage. It is also a world tournament, a championship tournament, etc. So please tell me what supporting characters you want to play. I'm going to give the whole fight a big fight, and I'm thinking of Shinji, Lei Si, and the Beast Man for the time being. Everyone please speak up, so I can collect 131. Tilda Island. Chapter 197. Bear your name in the spotlight. For full order. Snapped. Baizi grabbed Zeraora's frozen claw with his backhand. His eyes were firm, and the meaning was very obvious. I will not give up on you. Ow. Zeraora, listen to me first. The two pairs of blue pupils with similar colors looked at each other for a while, and only after realizing the seriousness in Baizi's eyes did Zeraora nodded. Baizi breathed a sigh of relief, as long as he didn't make a decision to leave. His brain was running fast. Brew up. After finishing the draft, he said in a deep voice, Zeraora, have you ever thought that Fenglai City is located in a remote place and hangs in the far land? Why are poachers often visiting? Wen Yan shook his head. This is really not clear. It's because of you. Baizi didn't go too far, but said bluntly, your existence, the unknown news of treasure elves, is the reason why this forest is frequently visited by various poachers and trainers. Ow! Zeraola's pupils shrank suddenly, and some did not want to believe such an answer. Because if so, it is equivalent to denying its protection of the 387 mountains and forests for decades. In the end, the root of everything is because of itself, so what exactly is its protection? But Baizi's eyes didn't seem to be lying. And, looking back on the past experience and the poacher he met before, Zeraora suddenly discovered that most of the people came to Fenglai City with the goal of finding unknown treasure elves deep into this forest. In fact, although Baizi had the idea of taking a powerful medicine, but it wasn't a reason that was deliberately made up to take Zeraora away. Fenglai City is located in a remote location. Although it looks lush and lush, the types and numbers of elves living in the mountains are not very rich. Most are driven and abandoned elves left by some accidental migration and various reasons. After all, if it weren't for the wind of grace brought by Lugia 100 years ago, Fenglai City was nothing but a barren land. Not to mention, Chengdu's largest hunting wild area, a hunting area, is located in the north of this land island. The main elves have basically been relocated to this real land of material abundance, and the mountains and forests in the urban area. In the final analysis, the background is still a lot worse. But even so, because Lugia is a top legend, Fenglai City has a very special status in the Chengdu Alliance. The elf world is a municipality. Generally speaking, the Elf Alliance will not interfere in the internal affairs of local urban areas. But, in order to ensure the safety of Fenglai City, the Alliance not only set up an emergency office in the suburbs, but also dispatched a main special forces team to stand by at any time. What is the configuration of the main special forces team? Just look at the configuration of the Fire Falcon special team supporting the Golden City. The team leader at the level of Tianwang has around 60 members. Below the gym level, the Alliance is directly under the combat power. This is not just talk. Completely rely on tempering in blood and fire. Although there is no special dispatch from the mayor of Fenglai or the Alliance directly, the special forces generally do not easily set foot in the urban area to perform tasks. But this deterrent, it's enough to scare off most poachers. Who knows if this kind of preparation will suddenly make a taboo and cause the special forces to hunt down. The violent organs directly under the Alliance are not as gentle as Miss Junsha, they just reprimand and detain them. ACBH was targeted. Basically it's a small life. If you don't die, you have to peel off the skin. Therefore, if it wasn't for the mysterious unknown elf Zeraora attracting many trainers or outlaws, who would choose to come to the mountains and forests of Fenglai City to find a needle in a haystack. It's all because of me. Zeraola stared blankly ahead, its eyes were out of focus, and the bitter and incomprehensible taste suddenly came to my heart. At this time, his heart was full of confusion, and he didn't know what to do for a while. And right now, Baizi's voice suddenly came. The root cause is of course not because of you, but because of human greed. Zeraora, there is no right or wrong in the existence of life, but the path you have practiced has always been right. Fenglai City a few decades ago did not have enough protective power. It was your existence that guarded the tranquility of this mountain forest. And now, Fenglai City is strong enough. Although the exposure of your identity has aroused people's greed and coveting, but in the same way, isn't this the time to release the bond between you and this forest? Zeraora, it's time to let go and join me. Get on the stage of the world and announce your presence to the world. And quote. Baizi pulled Zeraora from the ground, released his palm, and solemnly handed it out again. I will bear your name, and all your greed and coveting. Zeraora, my name is Baizi, and my dream is to become the strongest in the world. Would you like to walk with me? Zeraora stared blankly at the young man in front of him, and suddenly, a small smile appeared on his handsome cat's face. This time, without the slightest hesitation, it gently placed its paw into Baizi's palm. In the future, please give me more advice. Baizi, one person and one cat, suddenly looked at each other and smiled. Chapter 198. Are you sure it's not murder? Please complete. The next day. The morning sun had not yet risen. Although he stayed in the forest for a long time last night, the precise biological clock made Baizi wake up on time at 5:30. He glanced at Natsi's delicate little face in his arms. Gently pull the arm out. After getting up and getting dressed, Baizi put on his sunglasses, shook his head casually, and let the silver white hair fall down, and then he turned into a small single room covered with ore. After a while, he walked out the door lightly. At this time, the sky was not yet bright, and there was basically not a single pedestrian on the road. Facing the biting cold wind in the early morning, Baizi found a grass in the public garden not far from the hotel. Little sisters who didn't care about a few morning jogging exercises. After a simple warm-up, he released the iron dumbbells alone. Among the current main battle elves, Ibrahimovic will not talk about it. According to its ideas, at least it will not come out easily until the three basic attribute forms of electricity, fire and water are completely analyzed. The current situation of the wind speed dog is similar to that of Ibrahimovic. The blessing of the burning authority has made it go 1,000 miles in the understanding of the fire law, and the level has also grown slowly. The remaining stingrays, Cerulean, Zoroark and Laplace have gradually found their way. In normal training, Baizi doesn't need to worry too much, he just needs to find a suitable opponent to improve his level. Not to mention, during this time in Fenglai City, Baizi deliberately left everyone to relax. Except for Marshadow, who is inseparable from himself. There are also Ibrahimovic and Wind Speed Dog who are temporarily in the Pokeball. The remaining few elves, Baizi, were released when they came back last night. The room that Lily's mother Mia booked for them was similar to that of Baizi's temporary residence in Nibi City on the manor-style flat floor, and the reservation lasted for 1 week, and it could be renewed indefinitely. Tisk tisk tilde this time, at least hundreds of thousands went out. Treasure, it's so embarrassing. But there is a reason for being expensive. This manor-style flat floor has mountains and rivers, and all kinds of bathroom rooms have their own characteristics. Bamboo hut, underwater bedroom, etc. On the day of Baizi's stay, he and Natsi experienced a few places in person. Well, there are many tricks, and they are very useful. And this large flat area is also sufficient. Don't say anything else. It's more than enough to arrange a room that suits the spirits. Since it's relaxation, in these few days, even if they all sleep until the 3rd day, Baizi won't take care of them too much. This kind of treatment is basically there. However, considering that the iron dumbbells are still young and their self-discipline and habits have not been fully developed, Baizi is not prepared to let them fall in the daily morning exercise. Of course. This has been discussed with the extra dumbbells before. And, it's still paid. Terry tilde. As soon as the iron dumbbells came out, they shook their heads and swayed, so that they could not maintain the magnetic suspension. But, when Baizi took out a piece of silver-white strip that looked like jelly and was inlaid with dense black spots from his pocket, the little guy suddenly became energetic. He swooped in front of Baizi, and his nearly round little head leaned into Baizi's arms and rubbed it hard, causing Baizi to roll his eyes. It's alright, it's okay, of course I won't be missing you, come and open your mouth. He pushed the little guy who was pretending to be good-natured away, and then handed over the black spotted and silver-white strip in his hand in the one-eyed stare at him. Terry. The iron dumbbell spun happily, and then turned upside down, using the back of the torso, the golden claws that were different from ordinary extra dumbbells to hold the jelly-like strip. The sharp teeth hidden in the claws suddenly opened, and they bit into one bite. Up. Humming. This thing looks like jelly, but the extra dumbbells are crunchy and crunchy. But from its narrowed eyes, it can be seen that the little guy's mood at this time is quite beautiful. Could this be beautiful? To know. What the little guy with the extra dumbbell eats is the soft gold energy cube that Baizi developed with a lot of effort. The size of a palm, cut into 3 squares the size just now. It will take Baizi to cook for 3 hours, cool it, and then freeze it into shape. Not to mention the effort spent. The materials alone are also expensive. It is developed by combining soft gold, no less than 5 or 6 special medicinal materials and special energy cubes in a special proportion. Oh, and also added some obsidian shavings for garnish and flavor. 0. Ask for flowers. If nothing else, just talk about this soft gold. This stuff is sold by the gram, and 1 gram is 300 or 400 alliance coins, which is not much cheaper than gold. L. Adding other medicinal materials and energy cube materials, the iron dumbbell is almost the price of 3 parts of gold of the same weight. Well, it is almost the same as eating money. To be frank, this quasi-god is really not something that ordinary people can afford. Don't call it a late bloomer, either. Anyway, with the Heaven's Tao reward system, the shortcoming of the slow formation of the quasi-god's combat power is completely equal to none. But in terms of cost, it's even more expensive. Therefore, let's just call it the gold-swallowing beast. After all, each of them either needs special meat with high nutrition, or they can easily eat up a mountain or something. Gold-swallowing beast is so appropriate. Here. The extra dumbbell's eating speed is very fast. A soft gold cube the size of a small goldfish does not hold in its mouth for more than 10 seconds, and only a little bit of obsidian or debris is left as an ingredient. Carefully sucking the debris that Baizi had caught underneath, the little guy raised his head and blinked at Baizi with the big eyes above his head. Then a look of intimacy rushed towards Baizi's face. Fuck. Thanks to Baizi's timely response, he avoided the coquettish attack of the iron dumbbells like an iron bridge, otherwise it is hard to say whether the magic sealing glasses on the bridge of the nose will be kept. His handsome face, which is comparable to that of the reader's, is afraid that he will suffer. Tilda straightened up again, looking at a solid iron-clad wooden board with the slogan, "Welcome to the City of Wind," written on the back half of his body. Baizi couldn't help but twitch his mouth. Wait, are you sure this isn't murder? Decided. In addition to the warm-up every morning, as expected, coordination training at noon, coordination in the afternoon, coordination training in the evening, coordination training before bed, and coordination training in the middle of the night are all indispensable me. Chapter 199. Magnetic Training, Much Attention. For full order. Go on. Use RAM. On the grass, following Baizi's order, the metal torso of the iron dumbbell dashed forward, with a white light shining on the top of his head, hitting him in the direction of Baizi. But Baizi made a mistake, and with 2 very easy steps back on tiptoe, he avoided the impact of the iron dumbbells. Immediately after. With the forefoot of the left foot as the bearing, the waist and hips exert force, and a scorpion swings the tail, which accurately hits the ball and socket joint at the front end of the extra dumbbell torso. This foot is not heavy, but it directly destroys the balance point of the extra dumbbell. Terry tilde. With an exclamation, the iron dumbbell flew out 2 or 3 meters in a whirl, and planted one end into a cluster of trees. Baizi slowly put down his high legs, jumped on the spot and said, "Did you see? Coordination is very important. You have to imagine the magnetic force as your hands, move forward, backward, and turn, all using 387 inches. These hands grab the ubiquitous magnetic fields of the planet itself, materialize them, and use them as steps and focal points. Also, don't be so rampant, it's not a close-range sprint, remember to keep 3 points. Don't be so obvious about your route, you are so straightforward, who do you want to hit? While instructing, Baizi stepped forward slowly, and gradually approached, until the iron dumbbells were planted, in front of the bushes that had been silent for a while. Susu in an instant, accompanied by the trembling of the grass and trees, a black shadow suddenly shot towards his face. Huh? Baizi raised his eyebrows, his body did not move, his head deflected slightly and swiftly, and he immediately avoided the rushing branch. Good. It's the twigs. The real iron dumbbells only moved when Baizi turned his head to avoid the branches. Accompanied by the substantive magnetic surge, the Konoha flew away, and the iron dumbbell fired a galloping missile that hit the ground, with a bright white halo surging all over the body, hitting Baizi's ankle directly. Seeing that it was about to hit Baizi's ankle, the iron dumbbell was just about to mobilize the magnetic force. I saw Baizi suddenly stand up and jump up. It was actually a direct volley flip. And at the time of the head and feet, a sea-fishing moon, the burning white thought power light flashed, and the iron dumbbell of the path was directly caught in the hand. When he stood up again, the extra dumbbell, which was a little dizzy, was already in his hands. You little guy, you are quite good at learning and using it. Baizi nodded with a funny face on the small silver white head of the iron dumbbell. Seeing Xiaojia, Guy's flattering expression, he took out a soft gold cube from his arms. Terry tilde. Iron dumbbell's eyes squinted into a slit, twisting his body and breaking away from Baizi's palm. The sharp teeth under the tail claws snapped after the soft gold square was buckled. The who eats the sea and plugs it up. What Baizi trains is the most basic of special dumbbells, the use of magnetism. The world of elves is vast, and there are all kinds of elves who hold magical powers. But the vast majority of trainers only focus on the level of the elves and the use of attribute moves, but completely ignore the most essential talents and basic training of elves. You know, basic does not mean not powerful. Instead, it is a powerful cornerstone. Just like iron dumbbells, with the same level and individual value, 1-by-1 special dumbbells with sufficient grasp of magnetic force can completely rely on the mobility and coordination brought by this to form a crush. Although the iron dumbbell is a shield battle in his positioning, his own defense and resistance are indeed talented. But no matter how strong the defense is, cracks will appear under the continuous attack. It is undoubtedly the most stupid way to rely on one's steel and iron bones to not care about any attack. When experiencing the future combat power before, he was really impressed by the super defensive power of King Kong, which was shown by the giant gold monster. But the same. In the 2 battles with the top legends, especially in the duel with the Black Flash cracking empty seat, a battle master who can be called the pinnacle in terms of attack strength, frequency and skills. The super explosive power and coordination displayed by the giant golden monster made Baizi couldn't help but praise in his heart. Light as a reflection wall is played out by it. Not to mention that the giant golden monster uses power out of thin air. In mid-air, it is as stable as Mount Tai. This is completely the most basic use of magnetic force. The magnetic field of the planet is a solid backing for the giant gold monster. Okay, let's continue. Seeing that the iron dumbbells were finished, Baizi clapped his hands. Baizi's unique training method naturally attracts the attention of the young ladies and sisters who did not have early morning exercises. Especially Baizi's slender figure and handsome appearance. Coupled with the various movements that are full of strength during training, the full hormones and the muscle lines highlighted under the clear sweatshirt. No, little girls and sisters are completely dry mouth. Not to mention that he was training with a shiny quasi-god elf iron dumbbell. Seriously speaking, Baizi is the most beautiful boy in this public garden at the moment. Most of the people who exercise or get up early in the vicinity focus on him and the iron dumbbells. After the filming is over, what will they do when they take it back? But Baizi didn't care about it. Flash quasi-gods are indeed rare, but exposure is also exposed. Absolute strength has absolute confidence. even if it's a legend. The reason why he didn't want to take the initiative to expose it was just because he was afraid of trouble. Otherwise, with just one wind speed dog, as long as the firepower is fully activated, in a short period of time, he is completely worthy of the absolute main force of any 4 Heavenly Kings champion. What's more, in 1.7, Baizi is not only a wind speed dog, not to mention Machado, the guardian elf who has set foot in the realm of the gods, but also has 2 peaks, the first-level gods of the sea god Lugia and the Black Flash cracking empty seat. Now that Xiaoji's relationship network has not been rolled out, he can be said to be a related account of number 1 Tianzi in the elf world. Not to mention, after all, at the Wind Festival in the near future, for the sake of Zeraora, he is bound to attract everyone's attention. Now this little attention is just a drizzle, just pay attention. P.S. Continue, Fairy Elf Tilda. Chapter 200. I can't pretend I didn't hear this. For full order. Fresh takoyaki, 20 yuan for 3 skewers, as long as 20 yuan for 3 skewers, delicious and cheap, delicious not to be missed tilde. Look at it, let's take a look, the special ancestral candy people's craftsmanship, shape and style can be chosen arbitrarily tilde. Fried potato balls, fried potato balls. Today is the official day of the Wind Festival. Walking along the street, there are all kinds of entertainment venues and food stalls all around, which is very lively. The crowd was crowded around. Lily straddled Baizi's shoulders, enjoying a high angle of view she had never experienced before, looking around with excitement on her face. Behind him, Natsi, whose expression was much more vivid, was chatting with Lily's mother Mia in a low voice. These days, except for the early morning warm-up, Lily, the little guy, was sticking with Baizi almost all day long. Roller coasters, pirate ships, goldfish fishing, cranes, hot air balloons. One big and one small with 2 partners, almost played all the entertainment facilities in Fenglai City. The relationship between the 2 quickly heated up. Natsi, who was following behind her, gradually became acquainted with each other under Mia's initiative to strike up a conversation. Down for a few days. Although the temperament is still cold, it is also becoming more and more popular. Big brother, where are you looking? Those dolls are so cute tilde cute. Suddenly, Lily's soft and cute little cotton sound came from the top of her head, and her calf on her shoulders was kicking straight, showing the little guy's urgent mood. Baizi looked in the direction of Lily's finger. It was a competitive game booth. In the center of the booth stood a wooden pole with a height of 7 or 8 meters. On the wooden pole, 3 rings of different colors were distributed from low to high and from large to small. And in the prize area in front of the booth, there are all kinds of cute elf dolls on display. Pai Bao Bao, negative positive Pai Pai, Pichu, Ibrahimovic, Fat Ding, Milipwa, Meow Meow. I have to say one thing. The workmanship of these dolls is quite good, and they are not cheap at first glance. Don't even think about it. The difficulty of this game should not be too easy. As expected. After witnessing the previous yellow-haired youth who failed one after another, he was chased by that red pepper-like girlfriend and ran away. After he stepped forward and asked about the rules, Baizi finally knew why none of the elf dolls that the boss had placed on the counter were taken away. Thanks to your patronage, little handsome guy, our batting game only costs 50 at a time. If it is successful, you can choose a plush doll worth more than 5,000 plus. The rules are very simple. Look at the post behind me. As long as you can kick or throw the ball, from top to bottom, or from bottom to top, through 3 rings at one time, then you can choose a plush doll to bring with you. When the business came to the door, the boss naturally smiled happily, and quickly explained the rules clearly and eloquently. How about you, brother, how many balls are you going to come? Buy 10 balls at one time, and we will give you 1 ball as a gift tilde. It really is the devil's difficulty. With such a rule, even in ordinary fighting elves, if they don't reach a certain level in terms of skills, I'm afraid they can only hope and sigh. However, for Baizi, who has master-level kicking skills and has reached the pinnacle of skills, it is completely the same as Baiji. Lily, how many dolls do you want? Baiji put Lily down and asked softly. Ah. Lily nodded her chin when she heard the words, and after she glanced over the counter, her eyes sparkled and pointed out, that round pink one with brown ears. Also, there is that gray kitten. I just want these two. Turning her head, Lily raised her head and said with a cute expression then these two gestures. Okay, then two. Baiji nodded when he heard the words, took out the 100 banknotes he had picked up in advance, and sold 2 balls with the boss. After handing the ball to Baiji, the boss with a mustache took 2 steps back, looking at a joke. He naturally heard what the handsome guy and the little girl next to him just said. But can he not know what difficulty his own game is? To be frank, in the years since it opened for business, he has never seen anyone who hit the ball with his strength, except for a very rare chance to hit a ball. Not to mention hitting 2, I'm afraid I won't be able to hit 1. The mustache boss was thinking that after Baiji casually flipped the ball twice, he directly volleyed. The ball draws an upward arc, 1, 2, 3, without the slightest error, going from bottom to top, piercing 3 rings one after another. Oh tilde tilde tilde. The cheers all around woke up the boss. Looking at all the colorful lights on the column, the corners of his mouth twitched. Guys, is this in? Although I didn't see it, but all 3 lights were on, it was obvious that the opponent hit the ball successfully. Needless to say heartache. After all, the price difference of hundreds of times is there, but doing business with integrity, when even got up and asked, little brother, which one do you want? Baby pie and meow meow. Of course, it is all, boss. Don't worry. Baiji chuckled and threw another ball, let go, and kicked again, 1, 2, 3, there was no error at all, and the lights were lit again. The mustache boss covered his heart, and his heart was so painful that he couldn't breathe. The 2 custom-made high-end dolls were almost gone in one fell swoop. Oh, 2 days of work in vain. With a mask of pain on his face, the bearded boss still stood up very simply and took the 2 dolls, Baby Pie and Meow Meow, and handed them to Baiji. And then greeted another tourist. Thank you. Baiji raised his hand, and after taking Lily out of the crowd, he put the doll in his hand to the little guy. How is it, do you like it? Lily had a beaming smile on her face, holding Pai Bao Bao in her left hand and Meow Meow in her right hand, and said crisply, That's great, thank you big brother, I will definitely cherish these 2 like Dabai and Xiaohei. Doll tilde. Haha, as long as you like it tilde. Baiji was obviously in a good mood. However, big white and small black, shouldn't this be about Absol and Heluga? 387 Don't say it, it's quite appropriate. Baiji thought with a black belly. And right now. Open black lens bracket ding ding dong. Close black lens bracket. Accompanied by a burst of other music, a broadcast announcing the whole city sounded one by one, we will hold the usual event of the Wind Festival on Central Street later, the Pokémon Conquering Contest. Close black lens bracket. At that time, all Pokémon trainers are invited to sign up actively. Finally, I wish you all a happy time in the City of Wind. The way to register for the competition will be marked on the electronic billboards at major intersections. Please pay attention to reading. Close black lens bracket. Have you begun? Baiji's footsteps paused, and a gleam of light flashed in the cloud-like blue eyes under the sunglasses. Big brother, it's the subjugation competition, so you can go too. I believe that big brother will definitely win the championship. Of course. Baiji lightly smiled and rubbed Lily's little head. In an inexplicable tone, he said somewhat vaguely, this stage is just for me and... But right now. A somewhat annoying voice suddenly came from behind. Ha tilde the stage prepared for you. I can't pretend I didn't hear this.